snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, what if any you are. And just to nip it in the bud, because someone was asking about the motions filed. We read them yesterday. One of them was a motion to make sure that the defense didn't do their due diligence and look at CVs from the state witnesses because, hey, that's trial by ambush using their own words against them. Maybe,
really
Brennan, if you are complaining about stuff, just make sure when your expert is named Shannon with one N, even though there's two N's in his name, don't put a third N in there.
Yeah, keep the N's out of there.
Yeah, you can put your D in the paralegal, but not the N's in your expert.
I'm waiting for Judson to come back with double D's. Like, no, I'm Judson with two D's today.
Well,
Maybe.
it's spelled J-O-double-D.
Well, I am wearing my red velvet Hugh Hefner jacket to celebrate that today, allegedly, the state's case may be done. Stick a fork in it.
No. Alessi said, I'm about halfway. He spent 2.5 hours yesterday, 4 hours of sidebar, 1 hour of it. I'm gonna be home from Knoxville before Welcher is off the stand, because then there's redirect.
Oh, so, I forgot that.
Mr. Welcher, when you absolutely in no way can conclude anything other than your confirmation bias, are you, to a medical engineering scientific way of certainty, agreeing that Karen Reed was screaming out the window, and driving into John O'Keefe, who was at the moment picking up a litter of kittens, giving it to a homeless baby?
On his way to Mass to pray for the homeless and sick.
If that's what happened, I changed my vote.
In
Just trying to save those kittens.
And she was driving with only her middle finger, like Homer Simpson on the Simpson movie. She was just deuces all the way. She heard the beeping of the backup and she was like, screw this.
This is the beeping of the gates of hell opening for you, John O'Keefe. And then she floored it.
Wow.
And
she was like,
he will then say,
Mom.
well, you are claiming to ask me a question about which I, of course, agree 100% to. because your co-partner, I got his full name, Robert Alessi, he asked me questions that was really outside of the scope of reality, because he said, is the sky blue? And I said, no, it's water particles reflecting the sunshine. So the sky hasn't got a color. Is he even a lawyer? Could you check with the Bar Association of Americas if he's because you, Mr. Brennan, is an integrity-filled super lawyer. The defense.
The defense, bless their hearts.
I hate that
telling you.
little. I'm so much better than you, Smirk.
He is the equivalent of Randall from Recess. He is Randall, and he's like, Miss Finster, the kids are plotting something.
He's just so insufferable. He has
He
this
really
like,
is.
you are not going to question anything I did.
Yeah, and every question is answered with 3 more questions. It's such a way of. I think the defense should start the day. They're probably going to get a sidebar, and they should say, Beverly Canoni, can you please make sure, because I have a hard time noticing from the poll, but I rewatched from yesterday, and he's constantly fiddling with something just to make sure he doesn't have any AIDS, but on his table.
Can you believe that the Commonwealth bought the Lexus for, pretty much bought it for them. And, like, how can you sit here and be like, well, we don't want to ruin the car by actually doing a crash reconstruction?
Why didn't you, when you are across, and Dave, no, sadly, no. Why didn't you, when you are a super team of crash reconstructionists, say, okay, we're going to borrow this car and do the backup test. Just make sure everything looks fine. We did the reading, everything's good. Then we're going to buy 10 tail lights, which we're going to mount in an apparatus so we can just change out the tail light. And then we're going to film it hitting a crash test dummy. Kind of like what that BN, I can be in trouble 1333. I wish I could remember names, but he has great videos. And what did he do? He bought a tail light. He bought a ballistic gel arm. They could have done all of this and saved the taxpayers of Massachusetts $40,000 on a Lexus.
Well, not to
Yeah,
mention,
I don't understand why he didn't do that at all. Like, that's crazy to me.
So, do we have the price that Arca was paid? Because I could not remember
defense
that.
paid them $500,000, but we don't know for what.
Well, but didn't the defense have a payment they were making for this particular trial?
$24,000. $23,600 for 2 times in court. So because they get paid, I believe, $800 an hour. So nothing.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't know
just
what-
insane. Also, if you're the vice president, I understand he might be a vice president of certain, aspects of Aperture. Don't they have like quarterly, vice presidential meetings where they talk about finances?
I don't know the company. I don't know how it's run, but I think because they are kind of like they're kind of like the Blob. They're just taking over to grow instead of building. So I think every former owner of a company gets that swanky title, and then they're told, well, you're going to run Southeast on a guarantee for 5 years or something like that, most likely. And then they can kick them out after that. So it's I don't think his fancy title has anything to do with his actual work. I think it's one of those, as you say in Denmark, what do you call them? You give medals to idiots because it sounds nice.
I'm stealing that one, medals to idiots.
Or we call it, meritus, but probably it's a Danishism.
It's a Danishism.
We have a lot of them, I've found out, and I don't understand why more people don't use them. And they are all 100% descriptive and works.
But
Well,
did you
my
guys
favorite is
invent?
feathers and chickens. Yeah, what was it? Oh.
One feather into 5 chickens. It means
Yeah,
that
chickens.
when you ladies are yapping, then did you see that Mary got her bangs cut? Before it goes around town, Mary has had 2 extramarital affairs and is getting a divorce from her deadly ill husband. And Mary just did the thing that most ladies do and think, I would look hot with bangs. But it turned
That is
into 5
always a
chickens.
mistake.
Turned into 5 chickens. Oh.
Yes, we're going to do the crash test dummy again today. I've been asking every Scandinavian that I know about the dancing around a porridge that you say, and nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. No, you have been talking to Swedish people. Swedish people are not, first of all, Scandinavian. Second of all, they're not people. They are a subspecies of human that is engineered to fight orcs. And sadly, they lost their humanity on the way. Jamie met Pernilla. She knows why. It's weird when their skin starts to melt if they're out in the sun.
Okay, as someone who slightly resembles that remark, I didn't choose to be Scandinavian. My mom told me I was part Cherokee.
Well, the Scandies did come over to Newfoundland and might have intermarried with the natives, so who knows? Yeah, Mary is getting divorced. Didn't you see she got a new haircut? And Stacey LaBruno says, Welser didn't do a real experiment because it wouldn't confirm the Commonwealth theory. I have no doubt that conversation was had with Brennan. He did absolutely enough to prove what he had to prove. And he didn't do what any normal scientist will do. Could it have a different explanation?
He bent his arm and stood in one spot.
And then he kind of ducked down so it fit.
And then he let the car hit him exactly where he needed it to, and then he rolled out. He rolled out of the way lamely.
He did the bend and snap.
Yeah, he did.
And that's it. And then they took a dummy and he stood in a cement floor and just dropped it on the ground and go, see? So what does that prove? What does any of that prove?
That in those conditions, and if that was the conditions that night, it could have happened that way. The problem is he just forgot that the body was rotating before it ended at its final landing space. Yeah. In Germany, it's aus einer Mücke eine Elefanten machen, to make an elephant out of mosquito.
Elefanten? I like that. It's a fun word for elephant. Elephant's already a fun word, but elefanten is funnier.
I think
I'm learning German.
Well,
possibly not while wearing this wig. Sidebar.
Well, aren't they going to do some arguing this morning too? So.
Hopefully, and she'll rule correctly.
All right. Good morning, Council. Good morning, Ms. Reed. And,
morning.
All right, Mr. Lessie, I will hear you on your argument on the voir dire.
Bless you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just loading up my computer.
Find a microphone. Van een Mücke ein Olifant machen. That's in Dutch.
Ooh.
Your Honor, I am going to address.
So it's Timothy Elephant.
And then I'm going to address the Dr. Scorty Bello aspect of Dr. Welcher. With regard to Trooper Paul, I would like to draw the court's attention to the following documents for the straightforward proposition that Dr. Welcher has not only reviewed, he has not only considered, that he has adopted. I went back and looked at the documents, and the basis for this is as follows. Slides 22 and 23 do not just depict Trooper Joseph Paul himself, they show Trooper Paul conducting the CARS analysis on February 1st of 2022. Importantly, these slides highlight the mileage odometer of 12,665, and I respectfully request the court to anchor into that odometer reading, because I'm going to show the path that that odometer reading takes through all of the documents, but I want to emphasize the start, the genesis.
This is quite interesting because if he used that, Trooper Paul used a different timestamp. That timestamp they are using, Trooper Paul claims, is going on to the tow truck. So that's a little bit interesting if they can get this in. I don't know what terminal I'll be getting food. I'm only an hour and 20 minutes in Chicago, so I'll probably be running more than eating. But I'm getting a hot dog if I'm there. Terminal 3, I think, is.
Or an Italian beef. The odometer reading of 12,665 miles is with Trooper Paul as he conducted the CARS analysis on February 1st. Now, here's where Dr. Welcher comes in. Dr. Welcher then uses this key data point, odometer 12,665, as the basis, the starting point for his determination of the locations and times for the events of January 29 of 2022. Dr. Welcher uses his scenario analysis of Miss Reed's travels, and that's detailed on slides 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 to calculate and then deduct 36 miles from the odometer according to Trooper Paul on February 1st of 2022 to arrive at an odometer reading of 12,629, which obviously is different from the start, the anchor I talked about of 12,665. So the assumed odometer of 12,629, again, is based on Trooper Paul's CARS analysis in slides 22 and 23, are then used as a tether, a connection to the events recorded by the VCH in the Lexus on the following slides: 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, and 36. I elucidate this and I explicate the slide numbers to show how many there are in Dr. Welcher's report that are rooted in the anchor point and then the change in the deduction of the odometer. So the events memorialized by Trooper Paul on February 1st, including the odometer reading, provide the foundation for Dr. Welcher's entire analysis of the VCH events. The entire analysis of Dr. Welcher's VCH events. That is the adoption aspect of what I started with. Two more points. In addition, Dr. Welcher testified on his voir dire that the image on the left of slide 36 from his January 30th, 2025 presentation came from a file marked carsj.paul. Now, he did contend that it wasn't the exact same image, but I want to go to this. In fact, the image on slide 36 is from the drone used by Trooper Paul, and the citation for that is page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. That's where the drones are from. Dr. Welcher didn't do any drone activity. He took the drone that he had.
Can any of the sleuths mods try and see if you, because I think there is a an invoice out there. I think they were looking at it yesterday. I can't remember which channel, but I think I remember they got paid for doing drone work, but I might be wrong.
In his report that was just a little bit different than the one I was showing him. It comes from page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. And I quote, "The crash scene was documented during the on-scene investigation by utilizing Alicia's GNSS GPS mapping system and a DJI Mavic 2 UAS. This data
Invoice for Aperture
was input to a computer-aided diagram program, which is IMS 360, here's the key, to produce a scale diagram of this collision. So the DJI Mavic is the CARS team drone. This image of Dr. Welcher's slide 36 is clearly and indisputably from the drone. And the only drone extant is the drone of Trooper Paul in the CARS team. Last point with regard to
the CERT team, when he said it yesterday and we got off, I was thinking the CERT team was there after sundown. So how the hell did they get clear shots on a day with no snow on them? But I thought, I probably got that wrong. I must have misheard it because there's no snow in the picture and it's daylight. And he claimed it was from the CERT team. So,
and Alessi is back.
Unless he lied. Well, yeah.
Well, until Brennan comes up and says, "But Mommy, it's devastating to my case." And she says,
I allow it.
"I have to go look at case law. Is there any case law?" Brennan's going to say no. And Alessi's going to say, "I have 5 here categorized from the Supreme Court if you'd like to look at them."
But still, just because you can prove case law doesn't mean it's law. Come on now. It's not like it. And yes, I did see that he got text messages on his watch. What, if any, they were? No one knows. It's just, I don't know.
To the Trooper Paul basis in adoption of Dr. Welcher. Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Welcher on voir dire if the image from slide 36 actually came from the CERT team, which is simply not true. The CERT team, actually Lieutenant Tully with the CERT team, took about a dozen photos of the taillight in the snow in the dark around 6 p.m. on January 29th, 2022. Ooh. Lieutenant O'Hara said that the CERT team never traveled back to the scene again. So there were very obviously no photos or images taken by the CERT team in the daylight from the drone. And I again refer to slides 22 and slides 23, where Dr. Welcher said it was more likely than not that it was Trooper Paul in those slides, but the point, whether it's Trooper Paul or not, is completely overwhelmed by what I just argued and presented as specific factual basis for a review, a consideration, and an adoption of the work of Trooper Paul. Unless Your Honor has any questions, I would now move on to Dr. Scorty Bell. Thank you.
Well, that settles all outstanding issues. Seaton isn't real, apart from the beach volleyball team, and Welcher gets pegged by Trooper Paul. It's called Sweden, but it's still not real. Yeah, it's not in your phone. It doesn't exist.
Potato, papato.
Dr. Scorty Bello will
hematoma.
Be much shorter. Mr. Woke, do we have the slide of the Dr. Scorty Bello that was at the end of the slide presentation with her name on it?
What?
Oh. Did you just give the slide number, please? So it is slide 131. I almost know it verbatim, Your Honor, so I will continue. If Ms. Gilman has slide or someone could turn it on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. So with regard to slide 31, at the very top, and this again is a slide presentation of Dr. Welcher. So up at the very top, and so Dr. Welcher admitted that he not only reviewed the autopsy report, he admitted that he not only considered the autopsy report, he admitted that he adopted it, and I'm going to put adopt in quotes, to the extent that he used it in his slide presentation. And he actually, to show the depth of those three verbs, he's got in orange highlight under final diagnosis, multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. He testified, obviously, about the rear wounds of Mr. O'Keefe. He testified about how he believed those wounds came about, and he cited as corroboration the highlight of multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. It couldn't be any more obvious, his rooting in this document and reliance upon it. Why else would he have it in his slide presentation? And he's got the name of Dr. Scorty Bello. And frankly, Your Honor, he didn't fight that whatsoever in the questioning of him. Then you go to underneath, cause of death, blood, impact, injuries of head, and hypothermia. He essentially repeated that on his testimony. And then if we could, Mr. Wool, just go to the right. And so you've got highlighted head, skull fracture radiating from the right occipital skull and into the right parietal bone, right and left occipital foci, and bilateral anterior foci and orbital plates. Again, the highlighted means something. He's adopting it. And lastly, the depiction of the skull here, I believe that's Dr. Welcher's handwriting. I believe that's his green, the LR, because I've never seen this green highlighting before. And it could also be Dr. Scorty Bello's. That's another possibility. I'm not sure. But let's assume sort of the most conservative part that it's Dr. Scorty Bello's. The key part is he's got it in there and he is referencing it. So, Your Honor, the last point really for both of them, and I wanted to save this point because it applies to both. With regard to experts, the law is clear. So I think the easiest part to show what our position here is the adoption. But in it, it's clearly shown. Adoption doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You just have to put your expert hands around it, wrestle with it, deal with it. And there is no rule of law that I'm aware of that says you can't question an expert witness unless it's something that the expert witness agrees with. If the expert witness has reviewed it and considered it, and especially if they've rejected it. The easiest is obviously reviewed, considered, and adopted, but it's certainly permissible and important to a defendant's constitutional right, Sixth Amendment to cross-examination. If an expert says, or even infers, I reject this, I reject what Trooper Paul did, or I reject what Dr. Scorty Bello did, that is decision-making of an expert that the attorney has a right to be able to test. Why did you reject it? What was your thought process in rejecting it? And that applies to both Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorty Bello, because as I understand it, this witness, Dr. Welcher, is not, he says, I'm not relying upon Trooper Paul, which is completely false based upon what I just showed. But even if he just rejects it, in addition to what he has done, we have the right to test and get answers as to why he did it. And the same with Dr. Scorty Bello. Once he goes to this level, Your Honor, I believe it's a straightforward right, especially of a defendant in a criminal trial, and especially of the stakes and the charges this high, that we get to test it. What I think, lastly, my point here, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is doing is this. The Commonwealth knows Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorty Bello are problematic for their theory and their narrative. Trooper Paul has got, if you work backwards from his key cycles, you end up with 1162.2, their key cycle. That ends up being not in front of 34 Fairview, but it ends up when the Lexus is in the possession of the state. That is the result of that. And that was something that was addressed square head on.
I missed greeting Jamie and Lori Daybell when I came in. My apologies. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate you.
In the first proceeding, Jamie. We're not coming up with some fanciful ghost in the second trial. This was gone through extensively in the first proceeding. And I understand this is a new trial, but it goes to show it's not something coming out of the blue, etc. And with regard to Dr. Scorty Bello, it was remarkable on the redirect that I've never seen a prosecution essentially go after the opinions and conclusion of their own medical examiner when they basically said, the medical examiner, I can't call this a homicide. The manner of death is undetermined. And the medical examiner says, I don't see any motor vehicle impact injuries. There couldn't be anything more apt, more probative than whether or not the injuries to the decedent are from a motor vehicle. The Dr. Welcher himself is saying they are. That's the essence of his opinion. It's the essence of his test. We get to be able to, respectfully, Your Honor, say, well, wait a minute. You said you looked at the autopsy. You said this. You highlight it. But you're going against the medical examiner on whether there's motor vehicle injuries. The experts can't, Your Honor, cherry pick and choose from documents. They can't use it as a shield and a sword. They can't put up, for example, Dr. Scorty Bello's autopsy report, cherry pick things that benefit from them, and then and they did it on direct. And then all of a sudden on cross, when we want to go and test that, they say, oh, no, you can't do it. Your Honor, this whole argument is absurd, and it's antithetical to the Sixth Amendment. And even if, and this is my last point, even if this were merely a civil case, this would be routine cross-examination against the expert on the side. So in conclusion, Your Honor, I respectfully request that Ms. Reed and her team be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to cross-examination, the keystone of a defense in a criminal trial, cross-examination, and that they be able to take the shield that the prosecution is trying to put on us and be able to combat the sword that the prosecution has put forward with regard to trying to cherry pick from this information, and that we get to proceed, and we get to proceed undaunted from all the serial objections yesterday that interrupted my cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's go, Alessi.
And now, Breeden,
Who is the PIMP now?
I've never said a lie in my life. This is horrendous. Horrendous.
Your
What
Honor.
arises from the litany of complaints by the defense is that there is no constitutional right to usurp the rules of evidence. There is no
Usurp?
To what?
It's usurp, you rampant jackass.
He's
Can I am not sure that he is is he a native English speaker? I live in Los Estados o Denmarkos. I read this and it says Ursurp. But I have listened to enough movies to know it's not Ursurp.
It's not his fault. He was raised by the Borg.
He was raised by women. That I can almost guarantee you.
I know one person on this panel who is not female and not Danish claims that every word in English is spelled exactly the way it's said, but usurping something is not usurping something. I'm just
it is ridiculous language. I will give you that as a terrible speller dyslexic. This is a ridiculous language.
I want him to define the word. Say, what's the definition of that, Brennan?
I want to run through his explanation at 2-point speed, but that's just me.
But I love that. Oh, all these and there's nothing. There's no
case law.
God, this guy had to be insufferable in school.
Yeah.
Just,
And he never did his homework, and he complained that everyone else did.
You know, he was a nice person until he got a nuclear wedgie, and then this is... Look, it's stuck there. Those undies are there for life.
Yeah, but that was like the first day of kindergarten, Mo.
Yeah, well, he's held on to that rage, and it created the man we see before us today.
And constitutional right and Sixth Amendment right. God. There is no case law to support what they are trying to do. It is a simple endeavor that is clouded by all the rhetoric that they offer.
I bet unless he's got case law.
What they're trying to do. They're trying to
bet he does.
The inadmissible opinion of a non-testifying witness against a testifying witness. They have asked Dr. Scorty Bello what her opinion is. And although it's not consistent with our reading of the case law, they were allowed to introduce that.
It's not your reading of your case law. What?
He's terrified of Paul. He's terrified of Paul.
So you say that Bev got it wrong. I think that's a really good strategy attacking old Bev because she really likes it when AJ showed her sass. So do that.
Well, that's different.
An undetermined cause of death.
This is her baby.
Or mechanism. That evidence is already in front of the jury. But they can't simply repeat it because it sounds good to them or they think it's helpful. Simply because a witness uses a document or looks at it or uses part of an autopsy does not let them regurgitate an opinion that's already in evidence to try to phantom cross-examine an expert. Dr. Welcher is clear. He did not rely on
Yeah, but you were
Dr.
clear that he
Scorbello's
used cert, you
conclusion
fucking
that this
idiot.
cause of death was undetermined. In fact, as an aside, he said, I wouldn't, because she's not qualified for that. And so this is a simple game.
Wait,
Let's pit
Scorty
one
Bello
witness
isn't
against the
qualified
other
to-
Did you just say their
suggest that
medical
Commonwealth-
examiner in Norfolk County isn't qualified? Outstanding. Outstanding.
He did say that on the stand
Scorty-
yesterday. Would you take her opinions for anything? No, would never read it. She's not qualified for that. And he also mentioned that John was an
hell
it,
no.
not a person. It was an it. How it landed there.
Witnesses are inconsistent. They take it a step further. They want to relive what they think is their past success last year in this case without actually calling the witness. They want the jury to hear their perspective that a past witness had confusion in his analysis, but they don't want to call the witness. They want you to allow them to do that,
They
not just shouting it
can't
out
call
and have
the
sustained objections,
witness
which has happened this
in
entire
your
case.
case
But they actually
in
want
chief.
you to be able to allow them to ask Dr. Welch these questions, which he did not rely on. We had a voir dire. He was clear. He did not rely on the analysis of Trooper Paul. He did not rely on that determination
Just his
or
pictures.
undetermined determination
Just used
by
his
Dr.
information.
Scorbello. It is that simple.
That's fine.
They tried to throw some fluff out and they throw around some documents. We
Oh,
have slide
documents.
22. Simply because there's a suggestion that Trooper Paul might be the hand in the picture is not an anchor. It's not a tether. It's not an adoption. It's no such thing. In fact,
Idiot, your expert testified that it was him in the picture. He said it's Trooper Paul. Will you agree with me? Yes.
if you look at that photograph, it was taken by Zach Clark. So by the rationale of the defense, they should now be able to ask Dr. Welcher any question they want about Zach Clark's opinions, efforts, what Zach Clark did. It is a photograph
No,
that he
they
considered,
aren't
not an
asking for
opinion.
that.
That's not the same thing, Brennan. That's not even
Oh
close
my
to
God,
the
he
same
and
thing.
his witness must have
This-
gone to the
this-
same school.
This is dumber than what we heard from Dr. Welcher yesterday. You have photographically yeah. Do you know what they can call that guy and ask him a question about? Was it Trooper Paul that was sitting in the front seat when you took that photo? Yes. Is it a clear depiction of what was in front of you when you took that picture? Yes. Okay, so you testify this is Trooper Paul? Yes. Brennan, are you...
He's full of
I
crap.
know some people are saying online he's trying to throw this, but he's really not. This
No.
is Hank Brennan, $300,000 worth of super lawyer. This, dear friends, is what $300,000 gets you in Massachusetts. A man who can't speak English, a man who will lie about everything in the world.
A
Would
man
it
who
be
will
wrong
usurp the Bar
or
Association.
illegal to recommend to the marital aid that rackets used to promote that their new size should be called the Hank?
It would be so small, so...
Well, I mean, it's for micro, but, you know, the Hank.
I think it would be a choking hazard. It would be really hard to ship.
Fair point.
Not an analysis. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Dr. Welcher's analysis or opinions. In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. He came out, conducted an independent analysis, did all of the work himself, considered documents.
Oh, he
and
had
was
a drone?
specific about what was
Yeah.
part of his opinion and what was
Didn't do all
not.
the
And this
work.
information was not part of
But
his
he
opinion.
just,
They turned to the Google.
luckily
map.
enough,
It's
filmed
misleading.
exactly the same
This
way.
was generated by
Trooper Paul.
Google. Two separate people used the same program, but when you look at the CARS report and you look at Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint, it's different. Dr. Welcher's has a map on
Different,
the
you
side. And when
guys.
you look at the numbers themselves, the CAR report says minimum 30.
They didn't say it's not different. They said he relied on the CARS report. This guy is,
I hate him.
no one can, well, this is going to be a problem for Lally. There will be a no smoking zone that's bigger than the no speak zone that Bev made, because there's so much gaslighting going on right now that this could blow the entire city of Norfolk, because he is just leaking hot air. I've noticed that every time he argues, he'll just flip everything up. But this is gaslighting in such, we haven't seen this before, because he knows, oh, we fucked way up. And I just hope, sweet baby Jesus in your tuxedo t-shirt, make it so Bev finally rules fairly.
36.1, maximum 38.8. Dr. Welcher's slide, 37.9, 38.1. So in no
God,
way
shut
did he
up.
adopt, anchor, tether, use as any basis. In fact, his is different and separate, as all of his analysis is.
Sure.
And so,
Well, you
the
paid
portrayal
400K for
of
it,
this
or
necessity of
400K for
information so
it.
they can
Should
sneak
be.
in inadmissible opinions with no witness is simply improper. There is no case law. There is no legal support for it. They cannot reach back into last year and manipulate a witness and ask him about something that he didn't rely on because it feels good or it sounds good for their case. Dr. Welcher did not rely on Trooper Paul's analysis or reports, and he did not rely on the conclusion of Dr. Scortibello of undetermined.
He obviously
they
did.
Want to call
You
Trooper
tool
Paul,
bag.
or maybe they can try to do that, but Dr. Welcher is not the right witness for it.
Oh, they can try
to do that?
Try to do a credibility
Try?
audit is the
I believe a subpoena.
Hide him?
preclusion in criminal law, a core preclusion. You cannot vouch for the credibility of another witness. You cannot comment. It's like asking, did the police officer lie when he said the light was red? It's the absolute same analysis. It just has a lot of icing on it.
Aw, well, at least Alessi gave you icing.
The jury, start getting the jury ready, please.
Alessi, bring him
Your Honor,
ice.
with regard to Trooper Paul, Mr. Brennan did not address 80% of the slides that I addressed that showed the basis. When he talked about the picture, making it seem like the picture is the only thing we're relying upon, there's clearly other items. But even the picture, Your Honor, the purpose of the picture is it's got the odometer reading. That's why they took the picture, and that's the tether. So the photo is completely relevant. It's not who's in it. It's the fact that that's the odometer reading they're using. Next point with regard to case law. Mr. Brennan presents none to go against the common sense law and that has been there for years. The other thing, Your Honor, is with regard to Mr. Brennan keeps trying to put my arguments into a credibility, like we're trying to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. He says that we're trying to redo last trial. To the contrary, Your Honor, it's the Commonwealth that brought Trooper Paul into the second trial through Dr. Welcher and Dr. Welcher's reliance on all the work of Trooper Paul. They brought it in here, and because of that, we get the right to cross-examine it. Last point.
That girl in the pink is excited, y'all. Do you see her? She is loving every bit of Hank.
Look, Alessi has a fan club.
What we want to do is to say to Dr. Welcher, you have brought up Trooper Paul.
She's the number one
You have
fan.
used his odometer reading.
But
that odometer
Alessi,
reading
those are
tethers
some
through
crazy
to
eyes.
Google. It tethers through everything you're doing.
Be
It's
careful.
the foundation. But what you're ignoring, Dr. Welcher, are all the key cycle results that come from that odometer reading that you relied upon. Dr. Welcher himself can't cherry pick, grab things that he needs from Trooper Paul to do his analysis, and then the Commonwealth say, but you can't go after that because it somehow has Trooper Paul's name on it. It's illogical, Your Honor, and it's incorrect under the law.
Don't let Hank speak again. Bev, make
I
your
disagree
ruling.
with you, Mr. Alessi. I'm not
Of course
allowing
you
any
do.
line of questioning regarding Trooper Paul, and I'm not allowing the line of questioning regarding Dr. Scortibello.
That's what you're
Bring the jury in.
Shocking.
Shocking.
Are we shocked?
Well, come over here because they're underway.
Oh, for Lord and Hades and heaven. Alessi is, oh my gosh, his little patch is really red right now.
Shocking,
Well,
Bev.
I mean, yeah, it's. And again, what is it? I take issue with that comment from Hank. If you want to call Trooper Paul good luck,
Yeah, what the hell was
basically,
that
what was
about? You gonna hide
that?
him? You gonna
Yeah, is he
send
going
him
to be
Florida
sent to
on
Guam?
vacation? Right.
He's
He
like
should.
he's doing training in Mexico right now with the federales or the policia. I don't know what you call the police in Mexico. I should know that.
Call him Jefe and give him 20 pesos so they leave you the hell alone.
Pretty much, but
I mean, are you shocked?
No, not even a little bit.
I disagree with you, Mr. Alessi.
And that's why you suck as a judge.
she didn't even, you can tell she didn't even go home and look at this. I mean, that's the problem.
Oh, she had her mind made up already.
Yeah.
That's
Well, just like again, why does she put off these motions and say, I'll think about it? When she comes back and she's like, well, I looked at your case law, but no.
I'd like to see what the law is actually that he was talking about there.
I do feel like Alessi's more on his game. I think that having to go back and look at Trooper Paul kind of centered him. And my guess is he's watched this witness again and is going to try to. I don't know. At this point, I'm just hoping it won't be as insufferable as yesterday.
Remember, y'all, she just won Person of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
She's
yeah.
amazing, apparently.
Who voted for that?
A bunch of judges and lawyers, I think.
Morrissey, he got 800 votes.
Nobody that matters.
Brennan and Morrissey.
So I may enter your attendance and shall be heard. I'll say the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now open. You may be seated.
How can your person of the year have 40% of her cases
We
overturned?
appreciate you were waiting, you were doing work in here, but we appreciate your patience. So I do have to ask you those 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Everyone said yes or no affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or no affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? Everyone said no.
Ooh, Tammy.
Yeah, Dr. Welcher back in, please, and Mr. Leslie, feel free to go to the podium.
With the computer and any electronics there, so we don't have to do drugs.
It doesn't look like it's turned on at all.
Oh, okay, good.
People who stay at her beach
And
house.
smartwatches.
That's probably true, right?
Could we remove the expert's laptop that's already there open for him?
I think that's the monitor for the. Oh, maybe it is his laptop. No, I think
Well,
that's
yeah,
the
'cause
monitor for the podium.
I don't think that's there. Or maybe I'm wrong.
Dr.
I could be
Welcher,
very
do
wrong.
not turn on your computer yet.
Oh, it is his computer. He already had it open.
Yeah, he's such a
During his
mega
directive, we can
douche.
make sure that that does not occur.
Okay, or just don't look at your watch. Okay.
Don't look at your watch.
Yeah, don't
Morning,
get text
Dr.
messages
Welcher.
mid-test.
Good morning.
This time, douchebag.
Do you know whether there was glass found on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV?
My understanding there was, yes.
Did you reach a conclusion on whether the glass on the bumper came from the drinking glass that you assert Mr. O'Keefe was holding at the time of the alleged impact?
I didn't have an opportunity to inspect the glass, but the glass was broken and there was glass on the bumper. That's all I know.
So you, as you sit here today, you have no basis to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from the glass that you depict as having been held by Mr. O'Keefe at the time of the alleged impact. Is that correct?
Well, you're mixing a couple things.
No, Dr. Welcher,
So can
if
I-
you can just answer my question. If
trying
I
to.
need to rephrase it, I will.
Um,
I'll ask it a different way.
Please.
You have
We're starting already, y'all.
But
Sorry.
unless he's controlling him.
Yes, he's doing that thing.
Yeah, he
So
needs to
hopefully
do
he sticks
this
to it.
constantly. And Jake Hanna, thank you so much for 10 Australian. And you want me to shout out your brother Isaac. Well, hello, brother Isaac. And thank you, Jake, for the 10 Aussie.
Hello, brother.
Oh, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother Isaac. When you step into the ring with
Yeah.
the king,
The cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
here for
That
more
is-
than just a cup of coffee.
That's what you should have done from the start.
Rises to the top, brother. That was one of the greatest promos of all time.
Oh.
Some people stand and shout. I just talk quiet because it's not the loud you have to be afraid of.
Jake the Snake, still the greatest promo ever in professional wrestling.
have no basis as you sit here today to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from a drinking glass connected to Mr. O'Keefe, do you?
Well, we have a picture of a broken glass at the scene. So I wouldn't say we have no basis. We don't necessarily have enough to.
Well,
What is
jury-
depending on the definition of is? It could be is or is.
To conclude
He's
it's from
trying
it,
to
though.
link that glass to the glass, knowing full well that,
That
that's not the
the-
same glass. Like it's been
No.
proven that those
Do
don't match.
you had depictions in your test with Mr. O'Keefe holding a glass, correct?
Correct.
My question is, you have no evidence to show at all other than, and I'm talking evidence, testing information. You're saying you have no evidence that shows that the glass on the bumper
Thank
is
you,
not
Bush.
the same glass as you showed on your slides as being found supposedly at the scene. You have no test evidence that that's the same glass, do you?
So again, the one I have at my testing obviously was not the same glass. We have pictures of a broken bar glass in the snow near where Mr. O'Keefe's body was.
Stop him.
We have
How are
glass
you saying a
fragments
bar
on the rear of
glass?
the bumper.
How do you
That's
know
the
that's
extent
not
of my
a
knowledge
Mr.
on the
Albert
correlation between
glass?
those two.
So you said you reviewed the reports and testimonies of various Commonwealth representatives, correct? That's in your report.
Correct, in the initial.
In the initial, right, correct. And some of those reports included forensic scientists who work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony. You don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police, there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow and the glass on the bumper.
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't remember what testing they did, but for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
They actually
they
did,
did.
and they
Oh my
couldn't.
They
God.
did attempt. It didn't work out. They weren't the same glass.
And they used a spectrometer or whatever it is, and it
Yeah.
didn't line up.
What?
I hate this guy. I hate him.
I really do.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper, and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the
It's
snow.
hypothetical that you're
Assume that.
pitching.
How would that affect your analysis?
Has no relevance on my analysis.
I'd want to know where the glass came from, but we still have a whole bunch of other elements. So I don't think it would affect the end results.
Okay.
So-
of course.
Would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes, I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
No.
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I have seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
What if it's broken by Proctor and
That
Twist there
the
after
Or it
glass
went into
on the bumper
space.
is not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall on my slides, nowhere
Oh my
did we
God, shut
discuss
up.
that in my slides. So no, it wouldn't contradict it. I would want to know where that glass came from.
Would it have
But you
stayed in
didn't
his hand?
seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis to determine where the glass came from?
I can't with this
Of course I
issue.
did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know.
Double negative, Alessi, is my zucchini's name.
The answer, there's steps you could have taken to
Thanks
get
for
that answer
sharing.
quite easily, couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating
done.
with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
But to my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But
Oh my
could
God.
he
He
have
has
told
to
you the
report
result
to
of
his
testing
Mary.
on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just has there been testing, and if so, what's the results?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
Well, you're wrong.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
Oh,
There you
don't get
go.
cunty. Don't get cunty. Apparently not. You didn't do your job. You just took whatever fit your hypothesis that you were given by former Detective Tully. I think he's just a trooper now.
Baker, that
But
was
this
his job.
is, if you have ever seen confirmation bias in an expert, what probably we could call a gun for hire or an expert for hire, this is the guy. He gets cunty whenever he's called out for not doing the basic testing he should have done.
Let's turn to another topic, laser scans.
Baker said my favorite.
Part of your
word.
analysis involved conducting laser scans
Well,
of portions of
we
one
didn't get
Meadows
demonetized
Avenue,
yesterday, and I said
the
cut a
house
lot.
of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Those laser scans were used
We
at
have a
least in part
CPAS.
to answer the question of whether the
I can't say
collision
retard, so-
between Miss Reed's
Fair
SUV
point.
and Mr. O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse at One Meadows at approximately 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022, caused the right rear taillight of the Lexus to break, correct?
Correct.
And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
You want to get it as accurate as possible.
And the reason why inches matter is because,
This
and we're
man
going to
has
get to
had
this,
inches
you
matter a lot of his life.
and you did it in your slide presentation on Direct, you tried to see whether the Lexus lined up with the Traverse such that there could be a break of the taillight. That was part of your analysis, correct?
So the main part of the photogrammetry was to determine the speeds and the angles and the degree of overlap on the vehicles. And then we also looked at the damage from the video, or actually it's just where the snow was knocked off the rear of the Chevy Traverse, and document the height of that.
You said the main part. I don't want to engage in semantics. I want to go to my question of, isn't part of the laser scan analysis to determine whether or not those two vehicles align sufficiently such that the Lexus could break, the taillight of the Lexus could break coming into contact with the Chevy Traverse? Wasn't that part of your analysis, at least in part?
Yes.
Okay.
Then stop.
And in that analysis, inches
obfuscating.
literally matter, correct?
It can, depending on which way you're going inches.
So the Ring camera at One Meadows, you're familiar with that Ring camera, right? At
Correct.
One Meadows? That Ring camera at One Meadows was used as part of the laser scan process that you and your firm Aperture performed at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024. Do I have the date correct?
I believe so, but like the videos were not literally used during the laser scans. We took the laser scans, the video,
God.
combined them together in a process called photogrammetry.
Okay, let's get this down to the fundamentals. You used, and that was my question, Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit with regard to the Ring camera.
Sure. What exhibit is it?
I've got one.
I think he's doing a little better.
Yeah,
is
but
We're not
Dr.
going to
Welch,
you
engage in
recognize
semantics.
that Ring camera as being at One Meadows. You discussed it. As a matter of fact, on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
Now, that Ring camera was utilized as part of your laser scan process, correct? It was used.
So you're confusing laser scan and photogrammetry. The video,
Oh my
the laser
God.
scanners are together used in the photogrammetry. The camera and the laser scans are not used necessarily with each other.
You pedantic asshole, stop.
Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work?
Absolutely, the photogrammetry.
I just need to be able to finish my question, sir. Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
Yes.
And it was used?
if it's that camera used it just a slight problem, it's been changed.
For what purpose?
In the photogrammetric process, to establish the position and dimensions of various things in the video. So then we could go back and overlay the vehicles and track the tracks in the snow, as well as look at the damage to the vehicles.
Right. So this was used to, as a basis, not the only one, to establish dimensions of the other work that was done in analysis at One Meadows, correct?
Correct.
You can take that down, Mr. Wolf. You know that the Ring camera at One Meadows, in existence when Aperture did the work on October 2nd, 2024, was different than the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022, the date where you went through to see if those two vehicles aligned. Is that correct? The cameras are different.
That is correct.
And you know that the camera.
But hey,
that it completely invalidates his entire photogeometry nonsense.
Well, he has a good explanation because he's just using and he can, and you know, the poles in the back and what is, come on now.
Okay,
and hey,
wait.
thank you for 19 months.
Don't you have to have
That's
the correct angle at which the camera was oriented in order to photogrammifize things?
Mo,
We'd have to have
no,
everything
because
would have to be the same.
Did you get the date he used it? It was a quadrillion dance cycles since the last time we had a lunar eclipse on New Year's Eve.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna put on
because
my
of that,
glasses.
he
Maybe
doesn't
they'll
have
make me
to.
smarter.
It's science. It's science. Come on now.
Oh, right.
Cameras are
Feeling
different,
smarter.
and you knew that as part of your analysis, correct?
Correct.
Stop
that's
saying
gotta
your
be-
analysis.
Document the differences between the two cameras as part of any work performed at One Meadows.
Yes.
And did you measure any differences there might have been between the location of the newer ring camera from the older one that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
No, what we did is use the current ring camera in conjunction with the old ring camera, and with the laser scans, we're able to, again, map the points onto the scene. That's why I showed you the report from the photogrammetry software that reported our error.
Sir, my question was just measurement, not your process.
Oh.
Did you measure the difference
I don't believe
between
so.
where the old camera was and where the new camera was?
Let
No,
him finish
it was
his
angled
question.
slightly more to the right, though.
How would you know that if you were not retained on January 29th of 2022? How would you know where the original angles were?
Because when you look at the first camera, the one on January 22nd, it's here. The new one is slightly over.
You
to
don't
the
know
right.
that.
How many degrees? How many
that's an
seconds? How many
eyeball.
minutes is that?
That's
He's
like
guessing.
this is actually female guesstimation.
That's how I
Well-
measure stuff with my hands, and I keep them held there. That's how big.
No, but
Yeah.
it's just it moved 6 inches.
It's like when I try to put something level on the wall and it's kind of wonky,
Yep.
but if you stand at an angle, it's straight. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
allowed to
good
hang.
enough.
I'm not allowed to
It's
hang
this
things
big.
anymore.
That's what I say. Yeah.
It's this big.
This again.
I'm not on camera, so this sounds weird when I'm saying.
But again, it's just I'm just making stuff. I know how big the difference was. How you would need to know the entire build of the camera. If anything had, what if a bird had flown into to the ring camera and knocked the lens a little bit off?
Yeah.
How can you tell?
Well, also, aren't these
You can
very
tell.
very
You wouldn't
sensitive?
know.
Very sensitive measurements that would require you to know the angles, because isn't photogrammetry where you have the correct angles of the camera and then are able to make it a 3D space? I
No,
feel like
because
he's trying to
it's
explain to
just
me how
this
he got
much.
$50 Kohl's cash and we're $7,000 in debt on our credit card.
But he just he did he put in the variance in angle this much.
Wonderful.
Why does it look like Lizzo's?
Approximation analysis. That's not a measurement, correct?
Well, I don't know that we actually measured it, but we accounted for it and corrected for it.
How
But
can you do
see,
that
for
if you
example,
didn't
what
measure it?
The original one shows, for example, to the left-hand side compared to
Yeah,
what
how do you
the
know?
new one shows to the left-hand side, and it's angled more to the right.
Sir, you have experience with ring cameras, correct?
I do.
And I think a lot of members of the public have experience with ring cameras. You can move just the camera portion ever so slightly and change significantly the angle of the camera, can't you, what it captures? Just a small turn,
Potentially.
right? Even a millimeter turn can make a change. A 2 millimeter, a 1 inch can make a significant change with regard to what the camera captures, correct?
Good, sure.
So, did you measure whether the newer camera that was present on October 2nd, 2024 was installed to the left? And I'm talking measure, to the right, to the top, or the bottom relative to the camera that was there on January 29th of 2022?
So we solved for the camera
I'm
position.
asking if you measured, sir.
No, we didn't measure.
So
We
let's
guess.
talk about some other different.
He just said we did an adjustment. You can't adjust if you don't measure. Well, I lined up a pole on the left side. That's not how you adjust for it.
Baker,
Because
they
you
didn't
can't
have to
replicate
measure
it.
They didn't have to measure because it fit. Okay, it worked for what he was trying to do. So that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Duh.
Differences with regard to
How dare you
cameras
question him?
in ring cameras. Different ring
He's a
cameras
learned doctor.
can have different levels of distortion, correct?
Potentially.
Learning doctor.
Cameras, well, are you saying that all ring cameras have the same level of distortion?
No, but again, they're mass produced, so you could have some that have the same exact distortion. You could have some that have
the
different.
exact same
And
camera.
you don't know
Exact
the
distortion
comparative
is the name of
distortion
my
between
ska punk
what I'm
band.
just going to now refer to as the old Ring camera that was there January 29, 2022, and the camera that you saw on October 2024, which I'll refer to the new camera. You don't know the difference in the distortion between those cameras as you sit here today, do you?
Don't get your notes, you
So
little doofus.
we know enough information that if the distortions had been different, our errors would have been too high. And so the fact that our errors are within acceptable, are what's called an RMS error.
Who could
the
demonstrate?
distortions
Worked,
are similar
so that
enough
was
to give
good
us
enough.
accurate measurements.
Sir, that is speculation. That is
not.
not data. That is not a measurement. You didn't measure the distortion, sir, did you? If the cameras,
You
you didn't have
eyeballed
the
it.
old camera to do it.
We didn't, but we had images from the old camera. And then when we get images from the new camera and solve those camera properties and then overlay data from the old images to the new images with the point clouds, if that distortion is too great, we will have too high of errors in our project, which is why I showed the error report from the photogrammetry process to show that we have checked for that and documented that our errors are in acceptable
So
range
you
so that we have
checked
confidence in our
yourselves and
results.
said
You
you're
do not
great.
have information from the manufacturer of Ring. You didn't present it, and you don't have it as to what is the acceptable level of distortion for the analysis that you did, do you, sir?
The
You have
photogrammetry,
that from Ring.
I don't have it for Ring, but I
Thank
don't need
you.
it from Ring.
So now let's go to
Don't need it.
if
Can just do
cameras
it.
have different levels of distortion, that would change the analysis in reconciling the difference between their angles. That's a pretty straightforward proposition, sir. Wouldn't it?
Especially when you're talking millimeters on the
Depends
back
on how
end of
much
a
difference
car.
it is, but we have accounted for that.
With which model of the Ring camera was present at One Meadows on January 29, 2022? Which model?
I don't know. I'd have to go look through the data.
Do you believe you, I'm not going to take up the time to have you look, but do you really believe you've got the model of the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
I don't know. I
You
need to
didn't
look
present
through
it in your direct testimony, did you, sir?
I did not.
So do you have the model of the Ring camera that was present at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
No.
So you don't have even the model for either one of them?
Nope. But we have videos from both of them and scans of the scene.
So now let's talk about another aspect of Ring cameras. They have mechanisms, as I was talking about earlier, that allow the user to adjust the camera angle, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether there was a difference in the camera angle between the two cameras?
Yes, as we already discussed, there was a slight difference in the
But
angles.
you don't have a measurement of that, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
But we accounted for it.
So
Okay.
How do you
wouldn't
account
a
for
difference
measurement
in
that you don't
models
know?
of Ring cameras be relevant at all
forget
to your
about it.
analysis
Account for
of
it.
trying to reconcile any differences between
Good
them?
enough.
So if you have video from both of them and you have laser scans with three-dimensional geometry of the scene, you can go in and it's called a reverse camera analysis and solve for the distortion properties. The scans give you the real world dimensions. So once you know the real world dimensions, you can then go in.
So this is
Yeah.
all
You can go in and then
interpolated?
solve for
Yeah.
the camera lens
Wonderful.
properties based upon the real world distortions. So
What
for
he
example, if
actually
there's
is
a little
doing
bit of
is
bending at the
just
end, the laser scan
well,
data will
this
show
room
that,
change
and you can
change
correct for that,
positions all the time.
knowing
I can
information
just,
about the laser scanner
I'll
or
ask
the
the
laser
question.
scan data.
I'm sorry, I thought you finished, sir. I'm going to ask the question again because it's a narrow question. Wouldn't knowing the difference in the models be relevant? That's all I'm asking. Wouldn't it be relevant to your analysis of reconciling the differences to them? Wouldn't
No.
it be relevant?
No.
So you think the different models are irrelevant to any process you occasioned it? It's irrelevant.
So the analysis of the video itself is more important than the models?
I'm not asking if it's more important. I'm just asking, would it be relevant?
No, I don't believe it'd be relevant.
Now let's go to another aspect of the cameras. Are key parameters in a camera that the software needs to know focal length?
It is.
Is imaging size something that is an important parameter in a camera?
Yes.
Is our sampling characteristics an important parameter in cameras?
Can be.
Is the principal point, you understand that concept, sir? Is that an important parameter in a camera?
Define how you're using principal point.
Sure. A principal point of an image is the point where a camera's direct line of sight, called, as you may know, the optical axis, intersects the image plane. Does that
Gotcha,
sound
yes.
familiar?
Lurking
So-
feds.
Isn't that the image's mathematical center, the principal point?
More or less, yes.
And for high accuracy photogrammetric work, it's important to know if the lens is mounted centered over the image sensor due to the small manufacturing variances, correct?
Could be important.
And if the principal point is the center of the image. That's relevant. So doesn't that affect the mathematical calculation of the light ray geometry?
Nope, it could.
Nope.
So
Nope.
the variance
I took
in
care of it.
manufacturing between cameras is a known issue. Do you agree?
I do.
There are small manufacturing variances that affect one of the key components of the fundamental parameters of the camera, namely the principal point, right?
Correct.
Did you perform the camera calibration of the camera in place in October of 2024?
Yes. So within photogrammetry,
No, and you kind of missed Alessi losing his mind, and Bev said, "I'll allow it." Anyway, even though I thought he had some good points, but I'll allow it. And you missed that Brennan wanted the defense to call witnesses in the state's case of Chief. How? I'm not sure that's how you do it. And you missed this guy being a douchebag on Turbo.
So all the usual.
Just like yesterday.
Pretty much.
Calibrated the photogrammetric analysis to the camera.
Did you address the principal point in that calibration? Do you have documentation that you addressed that important factor, the principal point?
So the checking of the RMS error in the software takes into account, sums up all the potential errors in the measurements, which would include that.
Okay. Sir, you know the importance of all of these topics because the output of all the work Aperture did at One Meadows, almost all of it springs from that camera, correct?
It starts there.
Okay, it starts there.
That was
and if the
springs
starting
from me,
point
you
is
idiot.
wrong, then where you go from the starting point is going to be at least potentially wrong, correct?
Potentially.
Would you agree that Ring cameras have a swiveling mechanism so that the user can adjust the camera angle?
Some do.
Do you know whether the camera that was in existence on January 29, 2022 had a swiveling mechanism?
I believe it did.
Believe? Do you know?
I do not know for a fact, but those style of Ring cameras on the surveillance have adjustability that includes angle.
But you don't know whether the camera that was there, the specific camera on January 29, 2020?
This is kind of like last time when we were... I gave Alessi a 5 out of 10 for yesterday's performance. I really didn't think he did well. We had the same with not Burgess, Bukaki when he couldn't. Bukaki that got him flustered. Give him a night to go home and rewatch. I think he watched game tape. He's like Peyton Manning. He goes back and watches his own.
McCabe.
It was Jen McCabe, exactly like I said, Jamie.
DJ and Jen McCabe, yeah.
Yeah, listen to what I'm saying.
No, you didn't like it. That's what you told us. Yeah.
But I think he goes home and watches game tapes and sits like Peyton Manning and backwards and forwards and says, fuck that. I did get that date wrong. Oh, come on. You should have stopped him here. And then he comes in today and, come on, MFer, let's dance.
Yep.
Brandon is at a 4. Yeah, you're a little lower than me all the time, but I'm just a positive person. So I agree.
Had a swiveling mechanism or not, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether the camera that you saw in October of 2024 had a swiveling mechanism on it?
It did.
And where did you document the fact that it had a swiveling mechanism?
I think we have photos of the camera.
Did you document it in writing, and did you document the tolerance of the swiveling mechanism?
No.
Let's go to, and again, all of the camera, this camera that you use is the starting point for your laser scan in photogrammetry process, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to another topic. On your direct testimony, as I recall, you stated essentially from various information that you lined up in the video, and we're talking about the lining up of the Lexus with the Traverse. And this is at One Meadows. And so, as I understand what you did, sir, is you took what are called point clouds, 3D images, created them for the Lexus. You took created 3D images, synonym point clouds of the Traverse, and then you attempted to line them up to determine, among other things, whether they would align sufficient so that the Lexus could line up and potentially hit the Traverse such that the tail light of the Lexus could be broken. Was that at least part of your analysis?
That was part. There was more.
So you showed a slide, a few slides, and with your honor's permission, what I'd like to do is to start with slide 90.
I take all the credit.
Dr. Welcher can say his printed copy of the
I have no problem with the printed copy, your honor.
Printed.
I bet you he has multiple notes on that since yesterday. He's been home. Oh fuck! I can't use my computer as cheat sheet. So let's write everything down.
Well, if
90.
Sorry.
Well, if Alessi has to go up there and he sees the notes, that's going to be a sidebar. That is completely, I don't think,
I think
allowed.
yesterday he closed it every time. He was there like 3 times or something, and I think he put it away every time. So I think this guy is really, really sneaky.
0.
Oh, I had a massage today. My back is killing me.
Yes. Yeah.
You'll feel better tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll feel
Or
like
worse.
$1 million tomorrow.
Does that slide that's part of your presentation depict a view from the top of the Lexus on the right and the Chevy Traverse on the left?
Correct.
And is that depicting contact between the two vehicles?
It is.
Now let's zero in a closer look, and that is a contact point. Am I correct?
Correct. I mean, there's multiple points. There's
Multiple
more than one.
points, but it shows more clearly the contact
Correct.
between the two vehicles. Now, if we could.
Didn't he say yesterday it only touched 2 small spots on the lower bumper?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like this. There's a pretty good contact right here.
Yeah, but I can't tell if the taillight's higher than that or those are the 2 bumpers contacting, which
Yeah,
I think
that's-
is the point.
In Alessi we trust.
The next, and that is number.
The court should be on tomorrow. There's a medical thing. I think I think one of the female jurors has a medical thing today. That's why she can't. We will end at 1:30 today. So
She has an appointment. To clarify,
yeah,
she has an appointment.
Well, I made a medical appointment. She's pregnant. I made her. I'm kind of like Mo now. I'll make backstories for everyone. She lives in a duplex, and she had just gotten a divorce, and she cut her bangs. You know how it is. And then she thought,
Yeah, don't
I
ever
haven't
mess
been
with
out
your hair when
drinking.
you're pregnant.
No, but she wasn't pregnant at the time. But then she went out drinking because she hadn't been to the waterfall for years, and she thought, hey, I'm still hip. I'm 35, but I can hang at a college bar. And then she met this wonderful, strapping young man. Kind of looked like Doink the Clown, smelled like weed, and she was drunk. And now she has to have her 6 months check. And Doink will be joining her. He will take upon him the father role, but he won't move in with her because he likes living with his mommy Wendy too much.
For 91.
That's a terrible
So, Your Honor,
backstory.
91. I think these are just going to go in order for you, and I'll keep an eye
I'm
on
starting
them.
out. I'm not a Mo
So,
now.
This is 91. Same vehicles, just a different
a very
viewpoint. Is
depressing
that correct, Dr.
backstory.
Welcher?
Correct. This and the next
I
slide.
just want to stay
I know.
with this one. I
Hold
just
on a
asked the
second.
question, does it show the contact?
So go ahead and answer that.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's 2-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe Chevrolet, which is on the right. You're seeing it obviously behind where the Lexus is. So we were trying to show it at a whole bunch.
I didn't notice this yesterday. This is very inaccurate.
Yes.
They are morphing into each other. How in any way is this accurate enough to use as a demonstrative in? Because
That's what I was
they are
saying
just merged.
yesterday. These are not accurate, real depictions. Like, it's not a true and accurate depiction of what actually happened. I'm not sure how they got it
No.
into evidence.
No, because the bumper is missing down here on both cars. It's just it's probably there. It's
It didn't make anything clearer. It looks very pixelated and wonky to me, so I couldn't make anything out, heads or tails of it.
And none of us are IT people, but again, these two pictures are overlaid into each other. So this bumper that goes down here from the Lexus can't occupy the same space as the bumper protruding from the Traverse. Then the bumper should be bent really bad. And he said it just tapped it. But look at the overlay on the two pictures.
And they don't show a closer view. I mean, if this is, laser graphical, a bajillion and 12 points, couldn't they show the other side so we could see exactly what happened?
Notice they don't show the profile angle using the laser scan models. They just show it drop down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably not Photoshopped. It's probably 2 3D models rendered into those spots they claim they were. But again, these two... If I've learned one thing from watching Back to the Future, it's 2 objects can't occupy the same spot at once, because then things will start disappearing in pictures. This bumper is embedded all the way through the rear bumper on the Traverse.
When 2 physical objects collide, something has to give.
Yeah, and there's 2 wheels on the Traverse as well. It could be because they want to show the other side, because they didn't take the undercarriage with them, but you can see the rims. I hope they get to them.
A bunch of different angles to try and illustrate the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
All right. So
Thank you.
is it correct that on your direct examination, you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap, and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles. Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the taillight of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. You recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation.
It's a very strange line to that taillight.
Contact between the 2 vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the
So wait, hold on. He said that's not showing contact. However, part of that taillight is missing.
Yeah. Well, that's the Traverse's taillight. Don't think about that.
No, it's not. The Lexus taillight. That line is not the line of the taillight. Like
no, there should be a V shape here.
Yeah.
There's a protrusion on the taillight in this area. That's where the snow. That's the one you can see in the snow in the morning in the wellness check. But it's just because they're overlaid. It's not because they're occupying the same space. Yeah, right. And Jude Curio said, no Lexus was harmed in the making of this film. And Brandon says, on Thursday, we'll just do Kegels, because if you want a pound Guinness with a chick whose syphilis is magically delicious, your pelvic floor better be swole.
What in the name of all that is unholy?
area. Keep in mind the angle. The Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a 2-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements in the computer where you don't have this, we have the 3-dimensional measurements, and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said, that it doesn't show an overlap?
So
where?
It shows a contact. It definitely contacted, I'm sorry, Mr. Reporter, down below here. It does not show a contact here. So to answer your question, all the next slides were our attempt to do that. So all the next slides is your answer.
We're going to go to those next slides. So just to be clear, you're saying that depiction does not show any contact between the taillight of the Lexus and the Chevy Traverse.
So the upper taillight, just to be clear, because the lower taillight is much closer.
Well, it's not only much closer, it's in contact, isn't it, sir?
It's very close. It's probably within an inch of being in contact.
Just a tip. It was just a tip.
Oh, so you state that even the lower part of the tail
How to
light is
measure
not
in
making contact?
inches.
So, if again, maybe there's a photo we could show or a scan that is on the rear of the vehicle, and it contacts on the corner, which is just around, so maybe like an inch or so in front of it on the corner.
I'm just going with what you presented in your slide
Well, let's go to the
presentation.
next slides, and then
Sir,
maybe
I
we'll
will determine which slides we go to on my.
Let's go, Alexi.
So now let's go to Mr. Wolf, your next slide.
There we go.
In your presentation, my question is zeroing in. Are you saying that slide
Get him,
does not
Lexi.
show contact between the tail light of Ms. Reed's Lexus and any part of the Chevy Traverse?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it shows.
What
you
happened
can,
to the
You can
light?
see a little better here. Again, we tried all these different angles, which is why all
What
these
happened
slides
to
are
the
in there.
light?
But you can
That's what I'm
see some of the
saying.
geometry of the light.
That doesn't look
This
right.
structure, and again, remember I said the Chevy kind of curves in as it goes up.
We're all in agreement. This light should be and have
Yes.
a V shape going this way. So we just
Where is
determined
it?
this part isn't here.
It fails to exist for this scan and this scan only.
Yeah, I don't-
And remember the car they scanned was the board car, so that has the correct tail light. That should have looked something. Again, it's a hand drawing. It's not accurate. It should have looked like this. Why is it looking like this? Is it to try again and put into the head of the jury that it's missing?
I think so.
That's sneaky.
A little bit.
Just
Let's go to
Just
the
a
next
little.
slide.
Just the tip.
40, yes, please.
ooh, screensaver.
Is it working? 41, Your Honor.
Look how far that tail light sticks out.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's unbelievable.
oh, please let Dr. Wolf be, or Mr. Wolf be able to overlay.
Unbelievable.
What the F is in reality
So,
going
Mr.
on?
Alessi, is this exhibit number 41 or is this from the PowerPoint? Because,
Slide 41. Slide.
okay.
Yes.
So I'm putting this up because I want to show an actual photograph of that tail light, and I would like you, sir, to focus on the quarter panel tail light in each. Do you see a jutting out of the quarter panel tail light in that photo?
That is so
You see it
far
jut
out.
So I don't know if you and I are talking the same thing. There are little fins here.
Correct. Now, what I'd like to do is to go back
Which is protruding.
to the depiction we were just looking at. And that depiction doesn't show the jutting out, does it?
No, it does. Those
Where?
are actually more on the side of the vehicle. You can't see them in this image.
Correct. You
But-
can't see that.
Hold on a second. I wasn't finished. But
Sir.
they're one.
Oh, I
They
hate
are
this.
100% there. We
Where?
actually did special hand scans with a hand scanner of the taillight to put it back on to the vehicle.
You say they're 100% there, but you can't see it in that depiction, can you? The jutting out that you could see in the two-dimensional one we just saw. You can't see it.
I can't see who's behind that wall because it's being blocked by something. I can't see on the side of that taillight because it's on the side I
absolute
can't see. It's being blocked.
Sir, my question is
I
simple.
hate you.
cannot see the jutting out of the tail light in this depiction, can you?
Correct.
Okay, now let's go on to the next question in this topic. You could have easily solved what you consider to be the issues you had with trying to show it lining up, couldn't you, sir? You had an easy solution for that.
I took the best solution. I'm not sure what
You
you're referring
had
to.
three.
You take a Ford Traverse, you take a Lexus 570.
Chevy Traverse.
It's the same. And you park them close to each other and you just show it. That's the easy solution. It's not going out, making a 3D scan of a driveway, then take a calculation and try and imply that this is the angle it was taken from, and then put a computer together where half the picture is missing. That's not the easy solution. The easy solution was go to a rental place, get the extended warranty thing, so you can slam it a bit. And then
Hey,
you
nothing
just
parties like a rental.
no, and then you just drive them really close to each other, really close. You don't even have to have the engine on. You can just push, kind of like what your wife's boyfriend does, slowly.
3D images, correct?
I did.
You could have shown and measured 3D images to get almost the exact contact point and almost the exact dimensions if you had just used the 3D images that you had available to you. Isn't that correct?
That's exactly what we did. When I went through the video analysis, I showed you how we overlaid the point clouds, the 3D scans on top of each vehicle. So we took the, I'm sorry, we took
Sir,
the
please
vehicles.
don't interrupt.
Hold on.
Your Honor, he keeps referencing my hand and saying I'm doing something when I'm not, and I think that's distracting to the jury. I'm not interrupting him.
Hold on. Let the witness answer the
I
question.
am. I'm just holding my hand like this, Your Honor. He keeps saying that I'm doing something.
Mr. Leslie, please.
All right.
Yeah, then instruct the witness.
Again, in the photogrammetric analysis, I showed the video. I showed how we overlaid the point cloud on top of the video. That proves that the way we solved it, correct camera characteristics matches. Otherwise, that would be distorted. We overlaid the scans of the Lexus into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid the scans of the scene into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid all that stuff into the analysis. We did exactly what you're suggesting.
You could have easily addressed this issue by the following. If you really believe there was no
Put your
contact
notes down.
or not sufficient contact, you could have produced a graphic that shows a gap between the two vehicles. A graphic, couldn't you? That's not a graphic.
What is that?
Sir, I get to ask the questions and you are to answer them subject to the judge's ruling. So my question is, couldn't you have created a graphic that would have better shown the issue that you are creating or talking about today? That's my question. Couldn't you have created a graphic?
We did. We created a whole bunch of graphics.
You called what we just saw a graphic?
Yes.
Well, if there's a gap, why isn't there then something that shows a clear gap?
Because when you have the angulation of the vehicles, you have perspective. When you're looking at it, even if you do a top down, you see everything projected onto a single flat plane. So you can't tell the height of things. So when you see things in this dimension, you can't necessarily see depth of things. So you lose in two-dimensional images, you lose one dimension depending on which way you're looking. That's why I showed it from all these different angles to try and show exactly what you're saying. We had graphics to do that.
3D images allow you to show perspectives for 360 degrees, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So none of what you presented in your slideshow shows the contact points from 360 degrees, does it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking if I showed it at every single, I went through 360 slides?
You know what?
Sir,
I'm
you
subscribed
know what?
to Microdots.
You know what he
I
asked.
I know that you could have done a better job than this because Microdots does a far better job with his videos. Her videos, their videos.
Their video. Yeah. They're good. Really, really good. Microdots is great.
At what point can he ask to just have Bev go out and slap him across the face?
Bev loves him.
He tried to.
Every single
and
degree.
She was like,
Sir,
Oh, well,
let's
let's
move on.
stop.
I think I've made the point.
So I'm going to strike the comment,
Okay.
Mr. Leslie.
Dr. Welcher,
Oh, unless he's
let's
commenting
go
now.
to the next topic and keep with these two depictions. Are these two images point clouds or 3D images? Are these
Those are one and the same thing. Yes.
Are you using which term of the two do you want to use, point cloud or 3D images?
Both are fine. It's a 3D image composed of points.
Okay, so let's just call them 3D images. We can do this more quickly. The Lexus and the Chevy Traverse
Why is he
that are
looking at
depicted there
Bev?
are both 3D images of those vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And Aperture created the 3D images, correct?
Correct.
Sir, did you do these scans and did you personally create these images?
No, one of the assistants at Aperture did.
So you're speaking about what somebody else did at Aperture, correct?
They were doing it at my direction. And for example, the Lexus scan, I showed the photographs. You can see the gentleman that works at Aperture, Mike Morelli, was scanning them for me while I was doing the rest of the inspection. And then the hand scanning
He was
of the rear
down
tail light
with the tailpipe.
was done by another engineer. I was out there with him doing it, taking measurements. And then same thing with the Chevy Traverse.
My question is, you didn't do the creation of these 3D images, did you?
The individual images, no.
All right, so let's go
That's
to these
what he
individual
asked.
images. These are 3D images. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Let's look at the taillight.
Okay.
That's not a 3D image. That's a Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh, so it's your testimony that that taillight is a 3D image.
That absolutely is a 3D image. The way you can tell is when you get up near the chrome, because lasers don't like shiny objects, you start to get a scatter. So see all these dots here? If that was a photo, you wouldn't have these dots.
Let's go to the Chevy Traverse. Let's, Mr. Woke, zero in on the content. Yeah. There's grain on that taillight, in the taillight. That's a 3D image of the taillight, isn't it, sir?
They're both 3D images.
Well, I just want to stay with one. That taillight is a 3D image, and one of the ways you can tell is it's got all that grainy material on it, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back, Mr. Woke, to the Lexus.
It's wavy. Oh my God, it's wavy.
You want me to explain the difference?
No,
Okay.
thank you. I would like to go to the bumper. Do you see any grainy, the predominance of any grainy image on the bumper?
This is a
Where?
fucking photo.
Wow.
You can't tell me
Where?
this is a 3D scan if this is a 3D scan.
Yeah, it doesn't look, those two, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is really, really cronked.
It looks like they've taken this part and overlaid over the 3D print because you can see the.
There's a little bit. So, for example, when you get near edges, it has a hard time with edges.
I'm sorry, the bumper cover.
Right.
See the bumper cover up above?
This whole thing is the bumper cover. That's the step pad. That's the rear body panel or the rear deck lid.
I'm talking about the step pad, sir. Just the step pad of the bumper.
You can see dirt on the step pad.
Gosh.
I'm not an expert, but this part of the photo looks different than the rest of the
It
photo.
looks very crisp. It again, all of these have distortions on them, or of the other car, but this her license or her lights are completely clear. I thought they didn't like shiny things, so wouldn't the lights be distorted?
It would at the I'm showing on the wrong screen. On this screen, yeah, on this part, it actually looks like there's water on this part. I don't know how clear it is on your screen, but I have it a little bit bigger on my show screen. Looks like there's water on this part. Well, it's probably nothing.
You asked about just from here to here.
Correct. The bumper step
Can we
pad.
zoom in on it?
Pardon me?
Can we
The
zoom in
part
on
that
it?
looks photoshopped.
Yeah.
Do you see any?
Yeah, I see graininess.
It looks
Let's
like
go
water.
over
Where?
to-
Right in here. You can see it all through here. You see it through here.
Where?
Well, I'm talking about the step
Above
pad,
the
not
part
the
that he's
entire bumper. I'm
asking
just talking
about.
about the step pad.
Right. So you're zooming in on the bumper,
Right.
the step pad.
Is it me? Doesn't this look like it's water? It could be that it's the pixelation, but it looks like water. I don't know.
I don't know.
Nightbot, you can clean my shaft and balls after I done banging Welcher and his boyfriend through the bedroom floor. It's not Smokemos Maxwell. It's your gimp.
That is the structure up here.
We're going to move up. It just takes a while. So your testimony is that is a.
Can you zoom in more?
That's you would like it zoomed in?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Your testimony is that is a 3D image, not a Photoshop step bumper cover. Is that correct?
So we have mapped the color over the 3D scans. We
That's
used
not the
two
question.
separate scanners. If you recall, when I got out to Miss Reed's vehicle, that taillight was gone. So we had to replace the taillight.
Talking about the bumper cover, not the taillight.
Okay, I'm explaining the process.
I just asking about the bumper cover, not the process.
So focus your answer on the bumper.
That is a laser scan.
Okay, so your
That's a 3D
testimony
model.
is the step part of the bumper cover is a 3D image from a laser scan, and it's not a Photoshop. That's your testimony.
Absolutely.
And you didn't perform the work for the 3D that you claim the bumper step up is. You didn't do that work to produce that depiction, did you, sir? Somebody else in your firm did it.
So this is all done at my direction. The engineers that work for me.
Doesn't
I'm telling them
matter.
what to
It doesn't-
do.
Question.
I'm not the one punching the keys.
That's
I'm
my
saying,
question.
I need you to do this, and this. use the hand scanner, go scan the light. I need to put this back in because it was missing when we got to it. So no, I'm not punching the keys.
Okay, so
Okay. What over, please?
Like, he didn't ask, he asked you that. I'm not the one that's, I mean, it's my direction.
Do we have the metadata?
No, we don't have any.
with regard to, no,
Welcher,
Oh, dang.
trust me, bro. Yeah, this is totally trust me, bro. I didn't do it, but I did ask someone to do it, so I technically did it, but I didn't do it.
you don't need to back up, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct that 3D images allow for proper and most accurate measurements as opposed to 2D images? Is that a correct general statement?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay, that's my question. So let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about hydraulics on the Lexus SUV.
Hydraulic.
What type of hydraulic system does the Lexus SUV have?
So it has a mechanism, I believe it's actually pneumatic. It's air-based system that raises it up and down.
Do you know what the name of that system is, sir?
No, not off the top of my head.
Do you know how it works
I do.
specifically?
Well, I mean, I know generally that there's a button on the interior where you can raise and lower the ride height.
And is that the extent of your knowledge of that system on the Lexus?
No, and again, I know when you park it, it'll drop down the ride height. When you adjust it for different roadway conditions, it'll change the ride height.
Do you know what the height tolerances are? In other words, the lowest or the highest?
I believe it's around 1.25 inches. At one point in time, I measured it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So you believe it's 1.25 inches up and 1.25 inches down? How do you apply the 1.25 inches?
I recall the total being like 1.25 inches, but I measured it at one point in time. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Would you be surprised to
Gotta be
hear
more
that the
than that.
tolerance is 5 inches
I was
on
gonna
that
say
vehicle?
4
I would be
to 6.
surprised. I don't recall it being that much, but I would need to double check.
Assume
Mhm.
that the manual, as well as other informations, support that the tolerance is 5 inches and that specifically the vehicle can be raised 3 inches high and it can be lowered 2 inches. That's the basis for the 5. What was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus that you used for your accident reconstruction analysis out front at 34
Well, if he
Fairview
thought it was
between
only
12
an inch and
a.m.
quarter
and 1 a.m.
possible.
on January 29, 2022?
I'm glad he's getting to
To
this.
determine whether it was possible for the spoiler on the back of the Lexus to make contact with the eye of Mr. O'Keefe. If it was even possible, what did you use for a measurement of the suspension?
Matched the measurements from when the vehicle was tested, I believe on February 1st at the Canton Police Department.
What match did you make?
So we aligned the bottom of the taillight, actually the sheet metal right below the taillight. So we adjusted the height of the Lexus to match that.
Did you in any place
And Tracy, I don't know if you wanted to write anything, but thank you so much for the super chat. You'll get a sticker anyway.
document what level the Lexus was at the time of any testing, meaning the suspension? Did you document at all?
Yes.
Where?
Slide 107.
Can we have slide 107, Mr. Wolf?
And then if you could zoom in on the lower photograph, the gentleman with the blue
Are
shirt.
you in charge, Juice?
Zoom in a little more, please.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
So if I may,
hate them.
we matched the bottom of the sheet metal here to photographs when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Sir, my question is, where did you document whether the suspension was at 0, whether it was +3 or -2? Where did you document that?
Right here.
How?
With that
And
photograph?
what are the numbers of the documentation of that?
No idea.
I don't know. We were matching the photos. So I don't care what the numbers are. I care that the height is the same.
Okay, so I just heard you say, if I heard correctly, you don't care what the suspension is at. Is that your
No,
testimony?
I don't care what the suspension number is as long as the heights match.
I understand. So what was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus at 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, while at One Meadows and colliding with the Chevy Traverse? What was the suspension height then?
We assumed it was the same as when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Exactly. You assumed, but there's no measurement like was just on that depiction. There was no note that said, okay, we're doing this very important and inches sensitive measurements to see whether the taillight on the Lexus makes contact with the Traverse, but there's no measurement and no documentation of what the suspension height was at One Meadows, correct?
So we took the closest measurement in time to the One Meadows event, which is when it was at the Canton Police Department. That was the best information we had.
Well, that information isn't very good because the vehicle had to go from Canton to One Meadows. And when the vehicle drives, the way the suspension system works, it's automatic. When you go above 20 miles an hour, the suspension comes up. And when you turn off the vehicle, it goes down so you can get out easier. So it would be improper to assume that the suspension at One Meadows would be the same at another location.
That's the only. Sorry.
And
Did he
thank you,
just say-
Era's mommy, for the pink boy over on Rumble. Thank you so very, very much.
Did he just say that once you reach 20 miles an hour, the suspension lifts
Yes.
automatically? So
Yes.
in their 24 mile an hour in reverse hypothetical, where they have no idea when John O'Keefe was struck, they have no idea what ride height this was at.
No.
Since they can't pinpoint the
No.
hit, and
They
they
don't.
know that at some point this truck adjusted ride height, they have no idea how tall this car was when it hit John O'Keefe.
And if he
again,
was going
thank you,
based
Eris.
on his old answer of a inch and a quarter, then all of his calculations would be off because it's now a variance of 5 inches.
3.5, I think. Yeah.
Well, no,
5
because-
total. Yeah. I got you.
It's kind of like the forward back thing. Let's not get into it.
Yeah, let's not. I understand.
Your shirt matches. I love it.
Go ahead and answer, please.
That's the extent of the information we
Bad
had.
duck
We had it when it was
shirt.
at the Canton Police Department.
That's-
We matched that height.
Sorry, sir. I
Is that
understand.
not awesome or what? Love this
It
shit.
But
is
actually,
awesome
you brought up a good
puzzle.
point. It's going so slow when it's backing up that it wouldn't raise up. So the static position when it's backing up would be the static
Wait a
position.
minute.
But
She's
it wouldn't be
going
going in back
24
up from
miles
the
an
Canton
hour.
Police Department to One Meadows.
Yeah, I don't know how it works in reverse, but I do
Oh,
know
true.
the ride height is. I had a buddy of mine who had a Citroen, and when it'll adjust if you go a little.
Cool.
We like to go fast.
It wouldn't be going back up when it's going another location, sir, right? It would be driving forward. It had to get from point A to point B.
Right, but as you pointed out, when you turn it off, it drops down, and then you turn it on, and then once you go above 20, as you indicated, it goes up. But when she's backing up, she never goes more than a couple miles an hour. So it's going to be at the.
You
Wait a
don't
minute.
know.
You said 24.
You said 24 miles per hour yesterday, and now a
No,
couple
he's
of
saying
miles-
8. Yes, he changed it to like 8 yesterday or something.
No,
Okay.
no.
Or
He said
below
he
8.
didn't know what speed she was going with. Now he's saying a couple. This is always a big debate. And in Denmark, a couple is 1 and 1, 2. I know modern society, a couple can be every number. How much is a couple of miles per hour?
2, maybe 3 at the most.
So I think he's talking about when she collided with John's car, not the 24 gigawatts when she hit him, but when she collided.
Oh, you're probably
No, because yesterday he argued that she wasn't going very fast when she hit him. So,
Well, I don't. he
which was
keeps
confusing
changing.
to me anyway. Yeah, it's changing.
Doesn't his chart show that it goes over 20 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's what I
Well,
thought.
that was
Yeah,
their
but
whole. That was
but-
their whole argument. That's been
But
their
that-
whole argument.
But that's the crux, because he's now talking about, well, it doesn't change much with the hitting the traverse. But if he based every measurement from that impact or that height, he couldn't have hit John O'Keefe in the head with the spoiler.
Nor could his arm have hit the light unless he was holding his cup like this.
Yeah.
And if he was on the grass, he's up higher, so you don't equate for that either. He didn't. But then he
That's
claimed
one-
that she went up on the curb, or she went up into the yard. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Or she went into space.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It was actually, my buddy had a Citroen C5. It was a pretty good car.
The same position
that
is when you
Porsche
start,
SUV?
which is approximately the same position when it's off.
Is that what?
Is that the Porsche SUV?
No, a Citroen is a Citroen.
Is it a Cayenne? I think I've driven one. They had that suspension.
Yeah,
thing.
there's a Porsche Cayenne, but that's a Porsche.
That's
a
the
Citroen is a Citroen. It's
Well, I
kind of
don't
like
know
a
what
Dodge
Citroen
Ram. It's not a Ford one F50.
Off at the Canton Police
it's
Department a
awesome.
couple days later.
Got it.
Yanks.
Do you know whether the suspension system locks when there is testing of the infotainment system?
Whether the suspensions, I don't know.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic.
I bet Arca does. That's
You're
why he
aware
knows.
of the vehicle control. Excuse me, Your Honor.
That was my daughter's dream car when she was young. Now she has a
It was a
Volvo.
fun car to drive.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to
Had
go.
a-
I'm changing topics to go back now to Fairview, 34 Fairview. You don't
was a lot
know
of fun to
what the
drive.
suspension ride height at 34
Oh, now we're at
was
Fairview.
on January 29th of 2022,
Okay.
do you?
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't know what the suspension height was, because of course you weren't there on January 29, 2022. Therefore, there's no measuring stick, as you say, you assert that you would have accounted for it in your methodology. So you don't have the suspension height for that key day, do you, sir?
I only have it 2 days later.
All right. So
I love that Eris has opened our channels up to a whole new audience. He is in Russia. So now we are almost worldwide. We just need Kimmy to get out of bed in South Korea. And then,
so when you talk
not
about...
that Kimmy. Yeah, isn't her name Kimmy? With
yeah. No, not the bad Kimmy. The other, the one we love.
Yeah, the bad Kimmy.
Yeah, the English teacher.
I like Kimmy.
I'm sorry,
Leave her
Key
alone.
measurements, such as the spoiler on the top of the Lexus and the inches that are important as to whether things such as, is there a contact with the front eye? You don't have some data that would be relevant to that calculation, the some data being the suspension height of the Lexus at that time, do you?
So we have some data. We have photos of the vehicle 2 days later. We don't know
Some,
the exact height
S-U-M,
out there, because as you alluded to, we don't have a measurement
meaning
on January
total.
29th of it, but we do have it 2 days later. That's the source of the measurement.
You don't have the suspension height or the setting of the suspension of the Lexus that existed on January 29th, 2022, do you?
Correct.
Now let's go on to another topic.
Then why would you include a slide depicting where it was supposedly hit Jonathan in the head?
Within the
Well, because he wanted to play with the blue paint. His wife told him he bought it and he had to use it.
But you asserted various measurements, height, width, with regard to the Lexus, correct? It wasn't just for the spoiler at the top, correct?
Correct.
And for all those other measurements that you talked about, you did not have the suspension height and the suspension setting of the hydraulic system of the Lexus on January 29th, 2022, did you?
So the hydraulic's only going to affect the vertical dimensions. It doesn't change anything left to right. It doesn't change anything down the side of the car.
Understood. But for the measurements that are affected
Vertical dimensions are important.
suspension height of the Lexus system on
Ask
January
vertical
29th,
horizons.
Again, I only know what it is 2 days later.
So now let's go on to vehicle control history, sir. Do you understand what I mean by vehicle control history?
This is tech stream information.
Are you aware of what is called the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles?
Of course, we showed it on my slides.
And
if you mention your fucking slides again, I'm gonna absolutely not do anything near putting something on fire.
Bosch crash data
thank you,
retrieval system in
Fireman.
Lexus vehicles is sometimes referred to as the black box.
I'm getting my weed
No,
burner.
you're mixing up two things. So the Bosch is like the tools.
It's a question, sir.
So you answer that with a yes or no?
Is the Bosch crash data retrieval system the black box on Lexus vehicles? I just wanted to repeat it. So we can...
There she is. Katie, not Kimmy. Sorry, Katie.
Sorry,
Way too
Katie.
You were way off.
Kimmy. You were way off.
There's a K, there's an I, there's a wonderful woman. So it's just like Kimmy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Samsonite.
Oh.
I was way off.
Yeah. Oh.
Can we have a Jimmy
Classic.
break? We need a Jimmy break, I think.
Oh.
Where is
Because-
he? Yeah.
This man is killing my vibe.
How y'all doing?
Introduce yourself to the jury. Hey, I'm Jimmy.
Hi.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no.
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
Probably did. Everybody has.
So there.
Everybody has.
The judge is like, the hell did you just...
Okay, that was even better. I missed
It's been a
them,
very long
Glenn.
time since we had a little bit of Glenn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Glenn.
Good old Glenn. And then
Katie
I broke
says-
Baker by dressing up as him.
Also, I love you guys. We love you too, Kimmy
Love
too.
you, Katie.
It's going to be Kimmy too from now on. It's been a long time since I changed someone's name.
Kimmy too?
True.
So the question is,
That's mean.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Go
You're
F
I'm
yourself.
going to ask the question, sir. The Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles, you're familiar with that? Are you familiar with it?
There is no such thing in the Lexus.
A Lexus does not have a Bosch crash data retrieval system?
No.
Have you read the report of Trooper Paul?
Yes.
The May 2023. Does that report not use the exact
I think
words
yesterday he said he
possible?
hadn't read it, didn't he?
Let me ask you this. Do you recall?
He said yesterday, I skimmed it, but I didn't read it because I didn't want to get biased.
Yeah.
Steve.
Now he's read it.
Let's go to the VCH system in Lexus's. Is the VCH system intended by Lexus as a diagnostic tool for their technicians, Lexus technicians, to assist in vehicle repair and maintenance? Is that what that is created for?
That's their stated purpose.
Right. And is a synonym for VCH TechStream?
Sort of. TechStream, similar, like Bosch is the hardware and software to access the black box data. TechStream is the software to access, for example, the pre-collision system, the PCS system, and the VCH, which is the vehicle control history. So TechStream which does a lot of other stuff, but does access that information.
You just mentioned Bosch, didn't you, sir?
So Bosch is not in the Lexus. You use Bosch stuff sold by Bosch software and hardware, and you walk up to Lexus with all the Bosch stuff and plug it in and download the event data recorder, the EDR, the black box. That was my problem. There is no Bosch stuff in the Lexus.
I understand, sir. That was going to be the question that I was trying to get to, but you've explained it, so I don't have to answer the question. Let's go to the VCH database that you say the stated purpose is to assist technicians at Lexus
psycho, man.
in vehicle repair and maintenance.
So I didn't say that was a stated purpose. I'm saying that's what Lexus or Toyota says is a stated purpose. It's being used in litigation all the time. All I know is that's what Lexus and Toyota says. But again,
Empire Baker, he wants to slide into your inbox. Well, if he slides into my inbox, I'm gonna slide him a swift Sean Connery.
Please do. Please get into Baker's DMs. I need to see that.
So my question
also
is,
photos, and it never happened.
is the VCH database specific to Toyota and Lexus vehicles?
So it's not a database, it's software.
Is the software specific to Lexus and Toyota?
Those particular acronyms are, yes.
Your mouth.
It's like arguing with the youngest, most feral. I lose 4 hours of my life
I
and
want to move to
nothing's
another
accomplished.
topic, and we are
It's
almost
arguing with
finished.
a
We have
know-it-all.
just two
You're
more
using
topics,
a know-it-all, man.
How common were VCH events when Miss Reed owned the Lexus?
In 2022?
Do you know the ownership period of Miss Reed with respect to the Lexus? Do you know how long she owned it?
I have that documentation. I don't know off the top of my head.
Do you have an approximate?
No. I mean, it was a 2021 vehicle. Our accident's January 29, 2022. But I did get that information.
Do you know how many VCH events were associated with the Lexus of Miss Reed?
I don't even know if she has a DM, so how can I do it?
I did not count them, no. I have them all.
You
I was
have-
only focused on the ones around our time period.
Exactly. But do you have the number of events? Do you know how many there were?
I can get it for you.
How long would it take, sir?
3 minutes?
Why don't we come back to it,
Okay.
and we'll see if it's...
How about I start this so that we don't have to wait for it to boot up? And then when we come back to it, it's ready to go. You okay with that?
That's all you're looking at, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. And then put your head
No.
up, please, so I can finish
Well,
these two
please,
topics.
go ahead.
So how often were VCH events recorded on the Lexus before January 29th of 2022?
Man, I have to pull this data up.
Fair
to
enough, fair enough.
answer that
I assume
question.
that's going to be in what you're also pulling up.
That's the goal here.
Would the number be
I
about
can't stand this
15,
guy.
15? Does that sound right to you?
15?
Let's see. 1, 2.
Are you actually physically flipping flapjack counting, you freaking freak of nature?
This is the guy that would like be gifted front row tickets at like a baseball game and then judge everybody in the nosebleeds for having shitty
Yeah.
tickets. You know what I mean?
He's
There's
he's
18.
the
18.
So there were 8, your records show that there were 18 VCH events recorded on Miss Reed's Lexus, correct?
Before the subject one.
Right. Did you conclude that any of those events, other than the 1162-2, were a collision?
No.
Now let's go to reverse recorded events. Can you tell how many of those 18 events were reverse recorded events? And you know what I mean by reverse recorded events?
Yes.
The vehicle going in reverse? How many of those events were the vehicle going in reverse?
And this is before.
4. Other than...
He asked you, is this before?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to pull up the PCS file.
Can you start that and I can continue on with the questioning?
I got to. So the PCS file is I have a second laptop. That
Here's
has
what I'm
that
going to do. That's not important for me to
Oh
keep
my
going and get through it, so let's just stay
Lord.
on the events,
How
okay?
many laptops do you have? Do you have burner phones too?
Only one of all of those.
I'm sitting here. I find out today I can open up streams on Rumble, so I don't have to bring my laptop. So I'm not going to bring my laptop to the States this year because I didn't use it the last time. Because this guy, he has more laptops than I have PCs, and I run a YouTube stream.
Events, those 18, are you concluding
don't
that there was a
laptops hold a
collision
lot of-
associated with them, correct? Just one?
No, all those 18 are before. The collision's number 19.
Get some sleep, Jake, and see you later.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, but for all the other events that are recorded, you're not, other than the January
Watch out
29,
for bears.
1162-2, you're not concluding that any of those were collisions, correct?
I didn't look at them. They were so far mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Yes. Sustained.
Let's go to 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at One Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was
Put
a
your
collision
laptop down.
between Ms. Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's 4,000.
Well, it's technically 5,700 pounds. Oh.
It's actually measured to 7,300 pounds, but who's counting? I will tell you, this doesn't trigger a warning in the system, but he'll have a really good explanation because he had a 3D scan. And Brandon says, the story of Johnny Appleseed is mostly based upon my relationship with Welcher, except for the parts about planting apple trees and me not scraping them.
Brandon, you light up my day, which is not good. And KDP, thank you sharing the love, and thanks for keeping, well, you guys keep us laughing. And I finally learned that the W is South Korean, so I'm learning.
Won.
It's won.
South Korean won.
Okay, well, then I'm still wrong, but I'm continuing to learn.
You're right. No, it's the South Korean won.
Yeah, it's just called a won. A South Korean won.
Oh.
Like dollar,
kind of like
won,
like
peso.
$1. But
Well, I
it's
know,
just,
but aren't other countries wons too?
Yeah, Japan has won.
Well, you can get wons in most countries if you talk to the right guy.
There's Chevy Traverse. That's understood, correct?
Oh, my Lord.
They made contact. Right. But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH
That's
system.
funny. See Winter
Too
Storm.
minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow
Yen?
that
Oh, I
you
was
contend
wrong.
occurred at
Japan has
34
yen,
Fairview
not
Road
won.
by the
Oh.
same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No, the impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive
That's
acceleration,
actually
excessive
correct.
steering, excessive braking, things like that. Things that would
Yeah,
be part of the
Alessi
maintenance
has this a
system.
little wrong.
So the tech stream will never register an event, even if you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour necessarily. It'll cause stop codes and things like that. But that's not what it does. The trigger here was
Sharing the love. We need a goat break soon. I do have a goat stream scheduled this afternoon.
transitioning into reverse and then gunning
shut off
the
on me
accelerator
last
pedal
night.
in
Not
reverse.
sure what
And
happened.
so when it went from 30
Thank
up
you,
to
Jake.
74% throttle, once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you, I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you. That
You're
is
welcome.
exactly my point. The tech stream information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
So you don't know sheet, do you?
He just knows the car went in reverse.
You just know this. It went fast and in reverse.
Oh,
Well, this man is so unredeemably arrogant, smug, and up his own butthole.
This is kind of like the bank guy I talked to the other day. Can we talk about it? No. But have you looked at? No, I don't care. But no. Computer says no. Computer says no. Is it Welsh and nude? That's his screen saver.
M Spire said, "What did the horse say after it tripped? Help! I've fallen and I can't giddy up." I love dad jokes, so that's great.
I like that, Em. That's good.
I love we get a mix of Brandon's degeneracy and then really cute dad jokes.
Did Alessi crack the code for to getting answers from him? Just ask something you're expecting to be incorrect, so he gives you the answer you want. Yeah, he should just every time he should use reverse psychology on this guy.
Yes.
The most famous OnlyFan on YouTube. Who? What? Who?
The OnlyFan, Celine Dion.
Oh, I was thinking, do we have a new one in chat? Are they coming to Knoxville? Maybe I'll be sliding into some DMs if you know what I mean.
No.
It's a sad day when the neurosurgeon has a less pompous, better attitude than this guy. Yeah.
No shit.
The neurosurgeon at least only laughed once.
Yes.
Goats have a 5-month pregnancy, 151 days, so they technically can have babies twice a year, but that's kind of hard on them.
I would think, yeah, that would be kind of hard to have Irish twins as a goat.
Well, in all fairness, you would know.
Mine were the closest were 8 months apart, so I didn't get the Irish twins.
8
months apart?
Well, so I got pregnant 8 months after my 5th child.
You really aren't good at math, are you?
No, that's why I have so many children. That's why the rhythm method didn't work.
That's not how you measure how far between baby. It's not from birth to conception. It's from birth to birth. Because
look, I measure however I want to, and according to this expert, I can measure however the fuck I want to.
And Mr. Mo said, "Hey, it was a small protrusion, but it was there. It was there."
That's funny.
Don't ever let Mo drink moonshine. Is your just lesson?
What do you call an extremely lazy goat that just stands there? Billy Idol. He's idle. He's good. I like that.
I'm something of a neurosurgeon myself.
Oh, are we all making up fake degrees? I want to be a gynecologist.
I'd like
Do
to
you,
be
though?
an astrophysicist.
No, I really don't. I really don't.
You never know what you're gonna get. It's probably not the ones you want to see.
Yeah, Mr. Mo had to do meds things for women coming out of the field. He was like, no, thank you.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Pursuing degrees. There you go, Eddie.
What did Lori say when she dropped her first cup of coffee all over herself in the rug? I'm not allowed to repeat it here. Good morning.
Well, now you're awake, Lori.
That's funny. Hopefully inspire.
So
do you think it's
think
going
that
better
Alessi-
today?
I think he's getting doubt in there. Fair point, yeah.
I have
I feel
delivered
like he's
more
shutting
goats.
him down a little bit more than he did yesterday.
Yeah, I think he's doing way better today, and he gets to show how obnoxious he is to the jury.
Yeah.
Valhalla wants to be a gynecologist. Also, Valhalla, I'm not touching the gooey goat baby.
Yeah, that's kind of your job when you do that. But unless you don't do OB. So if you just do GYN and no OB, then you're good.
Can you do that?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I was the one on the table in the stirrups. I wasn't the one catching the baby, so I don't know how much schooling you need.
Honestly, I think that's probably like one of the worst possible jobs on the entire planet. The only thing that might be worse is a proctologist.
Yeah.
Might be.
I don't know. They have those feet doctors. You have to look at feet all day.
Podiatrist?
I would think maybe dentist. Getting in people's mouths all day.
Yeah,
like-
ew. No, yeah, no. Ugh. Teeth are weird.
Mo has somewhere
Typically-
between 10 and a football team.
6 last count. But we have both been Bob Barkered, so unless Valhalla's energy keeps moving in the universe when he keeps saying, you need to have 7, 8.
Well, Farrell can't be the only one with 10 kids. Come on now.
Look, I can only
Between you and
claim 3
Farrell?
on my taxes. What the hell, guys? I've taken one for Elon Musk and Nick Cannon. I am trying my best here.
Between you and Farrell, you guys could man a 7-on-7 flag football team.
I have thought about, making us all into a band like the Partridge Family, but who wants to let my youngest, most feral near a drum set?
Most OB only do gyno, I think, when they get old and are about to retire. I have goat PTSD-induced triplets breach. 18 hours with a baby goat in my sports bar, begging the gods for it to live, and a dislocated pinky. I had to pack myself and broke.
Yikes.
Ew.
Yikes.
Just asked the ChatGPT about the engine RPMs on a Lexus at 24 miles per hour in reverse. It said 3,300 RPMs based on trans ratio of 3.91, differential ratio of 3.30, and a tire diameter of 31 inches. But this car was only going at 1,700, I believe. What do you call a pregnant?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
I was about to say, that's a negative.
He said before, I can do dad jokes, and I thought,
no,
that wasn't
it's
it.
Brandon.
That wasn't
well, it was. It's coming up.
Jesus, Brandon.
I really thought Brandon is going to be like Zach and say, why did the chicken cross the road?
We're all getting canceled. We're all getting canceled. Everyone was.
And YouTube calls us, and the EU has all put us in the gulag.
The YouTube partnership program was fun, y'all. I appreciated my time here, and thank you very much.
Join us over on Rumble.
Jesus.
We're going to sit like Twisted Tragedies and say, if you didn't know, I have a Venmo. I have a Venmo. I have a Cash App.
Baker, we need to do like quartering. Our channel's under attack. Brandon keeps getting the... Have you heard of Hope Not Hate? They're mad at us because of Brandon.
Oh, we're gonna do so many headshots in Dollywood, so we have enough for the rest of the years for thumbnails.
You know what I need? You know that grizzly lady who, honest to goodness, she just sits there and listens and makes funny faces. Why didn't I think of that? My face is a bold underline in all caps.
It's yeah.
I'll allow it.
That's why I'm not a lawyer. My mom was like, you should go to school. I was like, Mother, my face is contempt. Have you seen what happens when I hear stupid? Like, I'm pretty sure a judge is going to notice this.
Brandon upset a different Nunya in the chat last night. I was watching. I just hope that even if there might be some new people here, they know that Brandon, at the bottom of his heart, is a good guy. He has promised me that he's going to come to Tennessee. Last year, didn't show up. I had work. You planned it. You told me I had to come. You told me we were going to the nudie bars. I didn't go to a nudie bar because apparently Valhalla is saying the good book doesn't allow it. And I said, that's not true because Maria Magdalena, she was a fallen woman. So actually Christ endorses fallen women. And he said, well, I don't read it that way because Joseph Smith never said that.
Why did you make her Mary Magdalena?
I think that she often gets confused, but the woman right before her was
we don't call her Magdalene or whatever. In real world, closer to where she lived, she's Maria Magdalena.
So
what?
They spoke Dutch in the olden days. Not Aramaic,
Nazareth.
it was Dutch.
Jesus of Nazareth, maiden tongue, Dutch. You heard it here first, y'all.
He really is blonde and blue-eyed. The portraits didn't lie.
Oh shit!
This is a pretty good joke.
Yeah, I've been at the hospital.
That is.
I missed it.
Oh yeah, Farrell. Brandon promise, and will we ever see a naked titlet? No.
That is a pretty good joke. I like that actually.
It was the chat Baker sent us to yesterday. Oh,
yeah. Speaking of which, Valhalla, how did your trolling go? Do you need to stand in the corner?
I can't hang out with you guys anymore. For one simple reason. All I do is show up places now, and they're like, oh, he's a troll. I didn't do anything trolling. I was just asking questions. That's all I was doing.
I'm just asking questions here. Why is there fluoride? It makes us not psychic.
After being called a troll so many times, I just gave in. Eventually, I was like, fine. How do I get in your Discord? And then they wouldn't answer me anymore.
You tried to slide into their Discord.
Yeah,
He came in like a wrecking ball.
Wonder if they've got a NSFW category in Discord. If not,
No.
they need one.
I just looked up the Fuzzy Hole in Tennessee, and it says it's
The Woody Hut?
the Fuzzy Hole, and it's a restaurant in Johnson City, appropriately named. Classy Kate stands. Okay, it has a weird name, and actually, that's what drew me out of morbid curiosity. No, you wanted to see some fuzzy holes. But these girls are down-to-earth, intelligent, and kind people. If you have talked that long with them, you're doing it wrong. But
yeah, it's sponsored by Better Health, so they're also
break.
doing counseling.
Graceful dances and so much fun to be around. The staff behind the counter was respectful, and the sound system and music was great. The lighting was also fantastic. The place was clean. Good vibes all around. 10 out of 10. Bring your own beer, cans or plastic bottles. No glass allowed. You can
Wait a
bring
minute,
your own...
you have to bring your own booze?
That's actually a pretty common thing in Tennessee.
What the hell?
You can't have boobs and beer in the same place?
So there's up by the airport. There's a strip club there that it's BYOB, and they charge you per beer that you bring in, and they have a separate building. It's not separate; it's a joined building next door that also sells beer. So, like the strip club itself can't sell beer for some reason. I don't know. I don't know the laws. I just know.
But how do you know if they're down to earth if they're not serving you booze? You know, the women who can't dance that go down there. You know, my
Boosh has got it.
job.
No alcohol with full nude. That's what it is.
We used to call them... It was. But now they call them exotic dancers, probably because they don't have anything on to strip. Pretty girls for the most part. There's always a midday crew. And good dancers. The business actually offers lessons in exotic dancing. Place is a little rough around the edges, but it's a safe place and the people are nice. 3 stars.
Lessons! Feral.
A little rough around the edges is my
Ralphie.
my sweet spot.
We're going for lessons. I'm coming home and my hips won't lie like Shakira because right now they stutter. So I'm kind of hoping.
Iris can fix that problem, no problem, because her hips don't lie. They also wreck hotel rooms.
She just
Bring
got
your
the
own
spirit
boobs.
in her.
Bring your own.
Full nude can't serve alcohol.
Always do.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? As a man, I know I'm supposed to say strip club. Been to one, been to mall. It's. I don't find it tittillating.
Yeah.
I have a pair I can look at in the
it's
mirror.
kind of like
I don't care.
Go past a car salesman. I'm not going to get a Ferrari. Yeah, it's a nice car to look on, but I've seen one, I've seen them all. I'm never going to drive it. It's kind of the same with strippers. Yeah, they got, most of them have 2 up here and 1 down there, and you can see that, and then, but you're not going to play with it either way. So, yeah, it's,
I'm
don't
just so
find
proud of them that they can walk in them high heels. Look, I'm just like, I'd be the participation trophy. Like, you did a great job. I love that you can walk in heels. Here's $1. How did you learn to walk in heels? Like, I'd start talking to her. That's how I know they're down home and friendly.
I don't
the
know.
ones in Prague are different. Well, I've been to them in Hungary. And yes, they were very different because it was actually just like a dive bar with a stripper pole, and then it was Whore Central. It was where the soldiers went. So, I love you. No, you love my money. No, say you love my money.
Difference.
No, I love you. I'll pay you $5 if you say you love me because of my money. I love your money. Thank you. Go away.
Hey,
That's
$5
really
is $5, Baker.
At least she got them honestly.
Yeah.
When you sit down, you get a drink menu and a snacks menu, and not only are these girls dancing on the poles, they are swinging across the ceiling. That's work ethic. Yeah, you like to see they put something into it, but if you're coming from a war-torn country bordering Russia and you get a chance like that, you're gonna make your money. I'm about the same way with male strip clubs. I'm not about all that in my face. Ugh. I'd rather see a nice-looking man in a pair of nice jeans, nice buns, nice chest. Yeah,
They
I would
flop
rather
it in
go.
front of you, just like the angry elephant. Like there's not a
Male
piece.
strip clubs are wild.
They are
Absolutely
worse
wild.
than women. They are
Way
worse than
worse.
women.
So, can I just take holy water? I don't want that floppity thing next. Ew.
They'll just jump on top of you and start touching everywhere.
But they will
Nope.
also get sexually assaulted by at least a dozen women every night because
True in cat sweaters.
It goes.
There's
crazy.
women go there and want that.
Oh,
Some are like,
One of the
men
bars I
and-
used to work at had the Thunder from Down Under, the
Yeah.
Australian thing. Unbelievable that night. Like I've worked at strip clubs for I don't know 4 or 5 years probably. That one event was the worst
redirect
experience
right?
I've ever had. As far
women
are
savages.
vicious.
It was
Redirect.
Savages.
Redirect. Redirect. We're already done.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brandon.
You were asked some questions.
Actually, it's morning, but yes.
You
Oh,
were
for
asked some
God's sake, he's
questions
doing it to
about
him too.
the ring video from Meadows, which was John O'Keefe's home. And you were asked whether you're aware if the cameras had changed over time.
Correct.
The fact that the camera was replaced, does that any way affect your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about your conclusions relative to that touching between the cars?
Absolutely not. It would have shown up as increased error when we overlaid the point clouds onto the photos or the point clouds onto the video. If it was an error, it would have showed an error.
Do you have any concern whatsoever that any of the information from the scan is in any way tainted, compromised, or inadequate?
That would be very hard to do. You literally press a button and stand there and watch it, and the laser does its thing. So I have absolutely no reason to disbelieve it. Additionally, again, if it was messed up, once you laid it over on top of the photograph, it would show the difference. So no, the data's fine.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that you've seen that any parts of your presentation were photoshopped?
No.
You were asked questions about the suspension of the motor vehicle of the defendant's Lexus. Do you have any information that the suspension at any point was changed?
No.
You don't have any information. That's a different
Yesterday,
question.
you were asked a number of questions about formulas. You took out your calculator and you were asked
Oh, for
about
God's sake.
different variables. Were those variables
Formulous.
hypotheticals or were they related to this specific case?
So they seemed hypothetical. Again, you have to be careful when you're talking about failure forces on biomechanical things. For example, if you impact the hand with a, say, 1 inch
No, stab
narrow
yourself with a
metal
pin
bar,
again.
that's a lot different than if you have a broad, say, plastic taillight or rear body panel. So when you have distributed loads, you can take much more. I told you guys about sitting on the bed, like how much you sink in. That's an example
Don't talk
of
about your load.
spreading your load out. When you spread the load out, you don't
Spread
sink in.
your load out
Same thing
anywhere.
forces on your body. If you take this pencil, I don't have to press very hard for it to pull in.
Yes,
But
he
if I
stabbed
spread it
himself
out, I have to press much harder. So you have to
Don't
look at the
press your load, sir.
distribution of the load when you're
Yeah,
talking about the
stop with your
failure.
load.
So when you look at
Keep
the
it
failure loads, it depends on what you're doing it with.
Jamie, why have the
If I
boys
hit you with
abandoned us
a
during all this
5-pound
load talk?
2x4 or a 5-pound
They're
pillow, they're both 5 pounds, but you'd much rather get hit by the pillow than the 2x4.
God.
I would rather hit you with a pillow.
When you
Allegedly,
were asked
Minecraft.
questions about
You want to back into
communications,
him
when
with a
you would
Lexus.
have communications
Pretty
with
much,
the
for
Norfolk
science.
County District Attorney's Office. Did you ever use encrypted apps to secretly hide your communications?
Oh, for God.
Apps like
Oh
Signal?
my
I
God.
don't have any of those.
This little
So the
worm of
question, ask it differently.
When you were communicating with members of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps like Signal to communicate?
What a
I'm going
gay little.
No, I mean, I don't even know what that is.
Would you ever
I
use an
don't even know what
encrypted
it
app
is.
so those communications couldn't be tracked?
No.
Would you ever
What
have
does
any
it matter?
doing that?
Oh
Jamie,
my God,
I hate this. I can't start day drinking. I'm
You
going
were
out with
asked
Mr. Mo.
about confirmation bias. You remember
Sorry,
those
I
questions?
didn't mean to scream. I just got real
Slide
mad.
You're
33 of your PowerPoint, please.
I'm sorry, what number?
Slide 33.
He hasn't closed his computer since he
second.
was told he could look up something. I guess we're bringing the feds in. He didn't do this before. Why is he going
He's
through
bringing
all
it up because he's going to bring it up with ARCA. You were communicating with
33.
Well, no,
defense
I'm talking about this
Zoom in,
gentleman
please.
never had to do this. He always had the...
A little
Oh,
larger so we can see it.
No,
oh
no,
God,
I was
not this
just-
slide again. Oh, you can
I
enlarge it?
cannot do it with one monitor.
You can't do it any closer than that?
Not since I took down. Oh, hold on. Oh, here we go. Which part do you want me to zoom in?
Miss Gilman can zoom in for you.
Sorry?
Like,
Which part?
Miss Gilman's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
what
If you could zoom in,
irritates me
please.
is
Okay.
they are not
Signal going forward.
obligated to give the Commonwealth their communication between the expert and them.
Confirmation bias.
No obligation.
No, that's strictly electronic data.
When we look over at the vehicle speed, can you go to the left a little bit?
Oh my gosh, Lolly, or Hank.
Down. Vehicle speed ending at 2361 miles per hour.
Baker.
Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
Yes.
He just was so. Oh, I wanted. Let's go buy a Lexus and back into him, please.
The questions about the Signal app, I want Alessi to get up there and said, so you don't know what encrypted services is? No.
Well,
do you
don't make it sound like it's something nefarious.
Speak. Do you use emails in your communications daily? Yes. What encryption level are your emails? What? Every email service is encrypted. Every WhatsApp service is encrypted. Every Facebook Messenger is encrypted. Everything you send to someone is encrypted in some fashion or another. You have your Snapchat, that's encrypted. It self-deletes. That's the only thing. And it doesn't. We can still see them on Cellbrite. But everything communication-wise has encryption on it.
Mm-hmm.
Signal just has a higher level, and they haven't broken it yet with the Cellbrite. But every communication this guy does, unless he works for a most companies would never have an open email that you can just go in and everyone can go in and check. You encrypt your company's products.
Well, wouldn't their Slack chat be encrypted so that other people outside of the company couldn't get for their messages?
Yes, when I have to send emails outside of my internal email, it has to encrypt because it can't. That HIPAA information can't get out there. That's how it works. No, but I wasn't yelling at you, Baker, about that's not. I was talking about Hank making it sound. It's like, stop with the Signal, because didn't we just find out that there's nothing obligating the defense or even the Commonwealth to turn over all of their communications with the other side with an expert.
So I do think that this is going to give us a snapshot of how insufferable Hank is going to be with the ARCA people. I do think that he's going to go after this, and I think he's going to show his a-hole. I don't think that the jury has seen a lot of that while we're on direct, because a lot of the a-holeness has been outside of their presence. But I think once we bring ARCA and once he gets on cross, he is going to be a jackass.
Yeah, and why didn't defense get all of Aperture's communications then? Because you don't need to hide any communications. Why? It's such a ridiculous question, but again, there's nothing wrong in owning a Signal app and using that because you work with highly sensitive information, so you want the highest level of encryption that you can get without buying an encryption service and setting that up and sending micro signals and all that specifically, because that'll take a lot of work. But as a lawyer, yeah, oh my God, I'm going to use an encrypted service so people don't go and rummage around in my blah, blah, blah. Stop yelling at Baker, mean girl. Thank you, Farrell.
Oh, Farrell,
No,
you
again, these are
stop
direct readings from the vehicle. Again, that speed on this here, you have to correct for the slippage, which I do later on in the slide, but that is a direct reading from what the speedometer is seeing.
Acceleration at the end of that 10-second window, 74%. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's a direct reading of a sensor. That's objective information.
Do you know what nothing says in this slide and what this expert still haven't said? When in this slide, John O'Keefe said,
Yeah.
what this guy has testified to is exactly in line with the brain surgeon. It's most likely a slip and fall because he just fell backwards. And I think Alessi missed the point by not asking, but didn't he rotate when he went around?
T-Rex Trucking and More, thank you for the super chat. I'd rather Hank not show me and the jury his hole, Mo. Don't swing that way. Well, I'm afraid you're going to have glasses or glaucoma.
Do we have this posted somewhere? I haven't been in and seen how many screenshots they did yesterday. Normally, Jemima will be on it.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Wow. Anything, Mr.
Oh,
Leslie?
thank God, though.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, you were just asked questions about slide 33, which is a slide about text stream data. You acknowledge that text stream data, what you have called a trigger, like was on that slide, does not tell you if a collision even occurred, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the topic of confirmation bias that you were just asked about in slide 33, am I correct that all of the questions that Attorney Brennan just asked you were about data on that slide, correct? All that's on that slide is data, correct?
And he asked me more questions than just this slide.
But were the questions just about data?
Oh my God.
On this slide, it was just about data.
Correct. But confirmation bias is really aimed at opinions and conclusions and alternative hypotheses. Isn't that what confirmation bias gets at?
So generally, yes. Again, I started this case with
it was
the
just a question.
hypothesis.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
With the
Shut your
hypothesis that Alexis
laptop.
didn't contact Mr. O'Keefe. And so I start what's called the null hypothesis, that this didn't happen. And then I look at evidence to either include or exclude the null hypothesis. So theoretically, my confirmational bias starts with a bias that it didn't happen.
What?
Nah.
No, I doubt that.
Did you analyze whether there was no contact between Alexis and Mr. O'Keefe? You would point to one document. Was there one document on your slide presentation, for example, that analyzed the null hypothesis, as you call it, there being no contact at all? Was there any slides in your direct testimony?
So remember what I said, we start with hypothesis, we get more data, we whittle down our hypothesis to the final answer. I mean, I had 130 slides. I suspect I bored some of these people to death already. So I didn't include everything.
Or
There's
angered.
thousands of photographs in here. There was a bunch of testing I did with the Lexus about backing, pedestrian detection that, removed certain hypotheses. So if I was able to eliminate a hypothesis, I didn't present it here.
Sir, my question is not about your...
All the slides show that, to answer your question.
Sir, my question is there any slide that says alternative hypothesis to whatever the label is, whatever the term, that says no contact between the Lexus vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe? Is there any document that you presented to the jury that shows that?
Any document where those words are written on it? No.
And to work through hypotheses, different ones,
and to see whether there's confirmation bias. Have you heard a scientist refer that as showing your math, so to speak, in working through hypotheses, documenting each hypothesis and how and why you rejected them? Have you heard of that term in the scientific world, show your math with confirmation biases and alternative hypotheses? Just a question. Have you heard the idiom, the phrase, show your math?
Your question is, have I ever heard show your math, period?
Associated with the application of various hypotheses to avoid confirmation bias. Have you heard of that term used in that conjunction?
Not really in that context. It's probably, I understand where you're going with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No, you don't.
Dr. Welcher, you are all set.
Oh my God, thank you.
Oh my God.
Get out of here.
Give me a minute to pack up.
He's going to go spread his load on all the beds.
Yeah.
Go spread your load, dude.
Oh, yeah,
Away
I'm
from
yes,
us.
thank you.
Know it? I mean, I've always
Oh my God, not another clip.
I can't. I get so much secondhand embarrassment from watching these clips out of order.
Thank you very much.
I know.
Lolly's like, you did a really good job.
Commonwealth moves to introduce and play clip 26.
These are so bizarre that he can just play these.
So I thought, could I run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always got the music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers going, the heater blasting. Did he come and hit the back of my car and I hit him in the knee?
Did
He's
he?
drunk and
Not I did.
passed out and asphyxiated or something. And then I hired David Yannetti. I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over? Or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
So the 207?
There's a completely in context video clip for you.
Yeah. Are you done yet?
Your Honor,
Hank? Can we be
Commonwealth
done?
rests.
Thank
On a
God.
bed of lies.
Oh my God.
Does counsel want to see me?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay. So should we send the jury out or should?
Well, yes.
So jurors, so everybody can sit. To you, send you back out. Put you back.
Is this where they're gonna
I
do?
mean, that's their case. I felt like it was very
So we don't know
Incomplete.
when he was hit, where he was hit, if he was actually hit.
We know he has
Or-
injuries consistent to a flat back bump, a slip and fall, most likely. And I still think, unless he missed the obvious question, but didn't you say he was rotating? So how did he fall flat on his back? Wouldn't he have been falling at an angle?
And he would have just said, I couldn't calculate any of that because I don't have the starting point. I don't have the ending point.
No,
so
but
I couldn't.
you can put it in the jury's head because the jury would sit there and say, yeah, that would make sense. That because we saw that video where he ducked down and rolled off the car. So why would he just start rolling and then fall flat backwards? I still think that
actually-
should have been said.
Let me push back
I
a little
think-
bit. Would you rather argue with that guy about how it could or couldn't have happened, or ask somebody that's going to be?
I would have asked
what
this
I was
guy. I
gonna
would have
say.
played the clip of him rolling along the car, even though he would, because he was going to be an obnoxious C word anyway. But I would have put it into the jury's head that this motion is important because now Brennan will start and yell at the ARCA guys and say, well, you got paid and you have a Signal app. Do you know Signal app isn't part of a crash reconstruction? Do you know that that you can't say anything even though you actually measured the breaking point of a Texas a Lexus tail light, not a Texas Lex light, but
Ray of Light, not yet. Ray of Light said closing arguments. No. The defense put on their case in chief. We have we're only halfway through this thing.
no.
Yeah. Now
I agree
how
with
did
Val
the
though.
defense
I would
say?
just leave this alone and go with ARCA and
Get
get all
that
that
asshole
information
off
out
the
of them.
stand. Stop arguing with.
Yeah,
his
if we
stupid-
want to bring it up with people who can easily express to the jury what was
Yes.
happening,
We're
because
likable.
he's going to go with,
Scardy
well, I
Bello.
don't have the angle of the force of the trajectory of the geometry to really
but
give you
you
a
have
cool
a video
answer.
where he clearly spins. And that's why I say I would have asked him in that video where you show a partial impact. You are making a motion like this, but in your conclusion, you're claiming that John O'Keefe fell backwards like you did with a crash test dummy. So is your testimony that he spun off, stopped, and fell, or did he tumble?
I don't know.
Well, I would have it
risk
because it would be in the head of the jury. You would show the video again and say, why is he getting so defensive when he clearly shows this is the motion he's doing? That's why I would have asked it. But again, everyone
I wouldn't give that guy an opportunity to lie.
But he can't talk about it because what would he say? I don't know how it happened. Which will make it even stronger that this guy was a big
but he
fluke.
wouldn't say, I don't know how it happened. He'd be like, well, I
He
wouldn't
said that
understand the
multiple times.
calculations.
He said it multiple times, and I would have stopped him every time he said, well, no, that's not my question. According to your slide, video on slide 142, the impact turns your body to the side. Is this consistent with the motion John O'Keefe's body would have made? And if he says yes, then I would say, so how did he fall flat backwards if he was in a tumbling motion? And if he says, well, just a yes and no, can you describe how it happened? Well, I would have had it into the mind of the jury. I think it'd be stronger that way.
I would much rather have Arca say that it's impossible than have this guy bullshit his way through some nonsense.
We know, again, please consider what Ronnie said. They don't give two fucks about Arca. We all love Arca because they use science. They thought they were bought by Aiden.
I think that's probably going to get exposed this trial.
Yeah.
No, it's not because they're not allowed to talk. They are not allowed to talk about it.
Didn't they?
No, but
there is a motion that they can't say they work for the feds.
No, but I'm saying like they were very limited the first trial. Now they're going to.
They will be just as limited this time. They
have their new stuff that they're doing. That they did,
the new stuff
and they
to
looked at more
counter
evidence.
Welcher, I think, is
yes.
allowed in. They're not allowed to expand on anything from the original report that they didn't talk about in the first trial, but they are allowed to expand on rebuttal evidence against Welcher,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
I
mean, the report didn't change. They said their stuff didn't change anyway. So.
Has there been any words on whether Arca is in town yet? It'll tip off if the defense calls them first. They'll count what Alessi brought up today.
Tomorrow.
There's no, we don't know anything about what, anything. The only thing we know is nothing. Because no one knows.
We don't know what order they're going to do people in. So
a picture is worth 1,000 words. Yeah, that's why I would show him. Well, I would probably put, at least I would show Arca Dr. Welcher's video and say, is this consistent with? So I would use it at that point.
I think this time around, them being able to ask Arca all the problems with Welcher's nonsense is going to go a lot further than the last trial.
Especially because Breenan's comeback will be, you used the Signal app, right? You used the Signal app. Yeah.
And you were paid. You were paid $40,000. You were paid.
And you had never used the Signal app before. I said, no, but I communicated with you on email to mass.gov. Never wrote those before, except that time where I worked for the FBI, of course.
That's what I would do. Then Brendan,
the way the defense is acting, they didn't do any comparable tests to what Welcher's assistants did. Their working theory is it's not worth doing because the accident couldn't have happened the way the state says. But the state didn't say that this time because Hank is a snake. He just avoided the topic altogether and is banking on the jurors going, she was there drunk with no taillight. And it worked the last time. It worked perfectly the last time. They didn't get her to a murder, but they wanted to find her guilty. Everyone was drunk. I've heard that excuse 1,000 times. Not everyone is in a courtroom. but everyone was drinking. Yes, but she's the only one who's indicted. So it doesn't matter what everyone else was doing that night. The jury will most likely, at this point, I'm thinking they will be hung on the same charge like last time. I don't think they'll find her guilty in murder, because then they have to be really stupid. But I think half of them right now is thinking, well, she was drunk, and she stated that she was drinking in those video clips. That'll be the biggest problem to fight her drunkenness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant this picture to the left of my name. I can just say it says duck.
It says, I came here to drink and duck, and I'm all out of drinks, or something along those lines.
Did he get a picture of Farrell's t-shirt for the weekend? Or next week, sorry.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
I'm Jimmy. How y'all doing?
You know what?
Yes.
When did you first meet Maureen?
This is in the summer of 14.
And where did you meet her?
I love Jimmy.
Jimmy's awesome. Here's a little baby goat break for you. Little mama. Baby's tucked in right behind her. They sleeping.
Aww.
They sleeping.
By the way, I have a complaint because I normally watch Goat Cam when I have my cardio days. No Goat Cam this morning.
I don't know what happened. It shut off like at 1:30 in the morning or something. I came in here today and my StreamYard screen was just blank. The app that my camera is through is still working, but my StreamYard was all hanky-panky. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we lost power. I don't know.
Yeah, this will be, if they have any way of proving the taillight, I think that can boink the rest of it that she was drunk. But still, to this point, my biggest problem, and it was in the first case, it's this case, she was drunk, she admitted she was drinking. And it doesn't matter if it was 1 or 7 or whatever it was. Some people will just say guilty because she was drinking. And you don't need to fight me that, well, everyone else was drinking, because I know I was probably drunk that night as well. But I'm just not charged with any crimes because they haven't found the body yet.
That's what I always say.
You got to be careful with statements like that. Statements like that will get shown in court out of context, Baker.
Oh.
Yeah. Especially if you send it on Signal.
I'm glad that no one will ever go to that lake.
Are we still on sidebar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're talking about they're talking about the motion to dismiss. I guarantee you. I don't think they did that in open court the last time either.
Well, yeah, I think because it's basically a beat down on the state's case, and they don't want the jury to see that.
Got to look at last trial. Did ARCA do a force analysis on it? That's all I want asked of this guy. Speed to break the taillight and not his arm. What's the range? They did. That's why they had their potato cannon. So they did a backing up of the car, an object going backwards at 24 miles per hour, and I think they shot the glass at it at 36 miles per hour, and it didn't break.
A chicken gun.
Well, if they can get Trooper Paul's report in, they don't want to call him. Hank, they can't call them when it's your case in chief, you idiot. But they can call Trooper Paul. There's probably something, Hank is probably crying. I really don't think they should call Arca. My witness was so great, they don't need to rebut him. Everything he said was true.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, if I'm being perfectly honest with you.
I think the fact that the Commonwealth had themselves like our biomechanical engineer, and now that the defense is going to have one, I think they might, in my opinion, the jury might see it differently than they did last time.
No,
Because they thought it was an insurance company or something like that.
I don't think unless he did as well as everyone was dreaming about, and he had a bad witness. That'll always hamper your style. But hey,
agreed.
Even Tom Brady could play in the snow.
But he couldn't keep Giselle, so
even Tom Brady could play in the snow. What'd you just say?
I said even Tom Brady could play in the snow.
He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He can play everywhere.
No. I said Tom Brady, not Eli Manning. I have to sometimes listen up.
Peyton Manning.
This guy.
Wait.
Eli Manning with his one ring. Get out of here.
2.
Wait, didn't Peyton have a bunch of sports ball?
Oh, Peyton was way better than Eli.
That's because they cheated. They deflated the balls.
Peyton
and stuff
is
like
way better than Eli Manning. He's the man.
And neither of them are as good as Tom Brady. And I don't want to admit that out loud, but I did. It's just fact. The man has like 7 rings. He almost has more rings than any champion of all time, any sport. He's almost got more rings than fingers. It's impressive.
Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Ugh.
You got 6 or 7?
7. I think he's 7. I'm pretty sure he's got 7
Do you know
rings.
Will Chamberlain?
I said almost.
Yeah. Do you know Mike Jordan only got 6.
He only got 6.
Isn't Wilt Chamberlain basketball and the other guy the football?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Russell has a ton of rings as well. I think Bill Russell has like 15.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Brady's got 7.
Yeah. And then Bill Russell has 12 or something like that. How many quarterbacks has a violation named after them? Yeah. The Brady violation.
Wilt Chamberlain only won 2 championships.
No, I thought I said the wrong name. It was Bill Russell.
Why is
wow.
popping up as much? Okay.
Eli Manning is the 4th best quarterback in his own family. Well, he's the winningest quarterback in his family.
That's true.
Isn't
Bill
that
Russell had 11 NBA titles. Looks like.
Well, I don't think many of the Magic has like 4, and I think Bird has 4. It also depends who are the classes you're playing against. Not that Jordan had an easy year, but the Celtics Lakers rivalry, they played each other really hard. So yeah.
You're trying to tell me that was a more competitive matchup than the Pistons?
No, I'm saying they were better matched, so they would be more equal to each other. I'm thinking the Pistons, the first couple of rings could be a big problem, but I remember when my Knicks had to meet Chicago. I think it was '95, and I was sitting in Chicago at the motel. We were downstairs, and then we saw the game, and people were really mad because that was that one game they won over the Bulls.
I want to go take care of the baby goat.
I know.
Because it's.
I muted it. You could have kept it on because nothing happens here.
Oh, I didn't even realize
some people have noticed that the paralegal who sits right there right here. You can't see it when I'm over behind Mr. Shirt guy. It looks like she's looking at, but I think they have those privacy shutters on the. No, that doesn't look like it. You can overlay laptops with like a blue filter so you can't read it other than at a certain angle. But someone was saying she was taking notes. So, yeah.
Who is the guy that looks like Pee Wee Herman that's always right behind the podium?
Pee Wee Herman behind the podium.
You know when Alessi's on the standard.
I think he isn't he a victim's advocate or something like that.
Oh, he might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Knicks
that's
has
the
been doing
appellate.
okay this year.
Thank you, KLF.
KLF. Uh-huh.
Well, some goats going crazy out there.
Oh, it's the Commonwealth's appellate attorney.
That's weird. Why is he?
Is there
in
something
the
in the water in Canton or the Commonwealth?
The Brady rule actually has nothing to do with Tom Brady. It was actually in response to Carson Palmer being injured in a game. Carson Palmer isn't a person, it's a drink.
No,
No,
that's
that's
an Arnold
Palmer.
Who was also a person, but he was a golfer, so not really.
He was a golf guy, I think.
That's what I literally just said that.
I'm sorry. I was using my own mind and I was thinking of the answer, so I wasn't paying attention to you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Game 5.
So, what's happening?
Nobody knows.
No one knows. Why is...
She's going to send them home for the day?
Is the
Or is she going to call the
running
first
away?
witness and then be done in 45? No, an hour and 45. She can do that. She said 1:30.
Tomorrow. I feel like. Unless they have somebody here today.
What's the drunk golfer who smokes cigarettes all the time?
John Daly. John Daly,
he's
and
cool.
he is amazing.
Yeah, I thought he was holding the chair for her, but he ain't no gentleman.
Nah.
Why is a goat crying giving him baby fever?
Why is a goat crying giving me?
They
It
sound,
does sound like
human-like
this.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's about the same frequency as a newborn, because my heart was starting to race. If you actually, and cats, that's how they get us, because their meows are at the same frequency as human babies crying. So,
So do they make you leak?
well, I'm not currently lactating, so
Well,
I don't
obviously
know.
not right this moment, but like, would that
Well-
would that still have the same effect
So
on the body?
when I was nursing, if there was another baby around that started crying, or a cat started crying, or there was a noise, yes, you could start to lactate.
The cat would get you?
Well, the cat, or if I was out maybe on like one moment away from the children with Mr. Mo, and a baby from another part of the
Yeah,
restaurant
another
started
baby,
crying.
that makes sense. Nobody cares about
But
that. I'm
yeah,
more
cat,
interested in the
goat,
cat.
that noise, the baby goat crying was getting me anxious. It sounds like a baby crying, and I just want to go comfort it.
I need lactating women on the baby goat stream. That's what I need. I want to see if this happens in real time.
God.
I want to know. For science, y'all. For science.
I would
science.
rather you buy a Lexus and run into Dr. Welcher for science. If we're gonna science things, but Court Mythbusters tomorrow.
That's interesting.
Not to
'Cause I
mention,
knew,
if
like,
you
the-
go for
the
too
baby
long,
thing. Yeah.
they have actual pads that you put in your bra that
Well, yeah.
are kind of like sanitary napkins that are supposed to absorb.
Stingy. Oh no.
Court is in session. Please be seated.
Hi, so jurors, we all, it happens several times a day, doesn't it?
Doggone it, Bev.
So
She's
I
gonna
don't
sue
wanna
them.
waste anybody's time. I know we've spent a lot of time at sidebar, and we've had times that we've kept you in the deliberation room because we've been trying to sort through everything, trying to make this trial as efficient as possible.
No, you
But
haven't. Shut
also
up.
honoring and
You have
respecting
not.
all the hard work of the lawyers that's gone into preparing this trial. So sometimes I do understand that it's frustrating for you. But today we were able to spend some time this morning. I know we kept you in there almost half an hour, and we've just spent some time now. So I can tell you that we are ahead of schedule right now. I still need to talk to the lawyers about something tomorrow morning. So we're gonna send you home now. and have you come back tomorrow morning at 9:30, because today I know we kept you until 9:30, and it doesn't make any sense where I already know I need to talk to the lawyers tomorrow morning to have you here for a 9 o'clock start. So tomorrow will be a full day, and we'll have you here ready to start at 9:30. Okay, so those same cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And also, please continue to be careful with your social media use. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Surprise the jury.
Good, good, good.
I hope we get to see this.
Yeah. Or is it going to be at sidebar?
Well, not if they kick the jury out.
Not when the jury is sent out. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, but the jury
they
was
just
sent
did
out
it,
when they
but,
were at.
But then she would just have continued the sidebar. It doesn't make sense to call them and
Yeah.
send them home. Well, I don't know.
It
don't
actually
know.
has to be
I'm
on the
not a-
record, right? So it would be
I
out
thought
loud.
so.
We'll be able to hear this.
Yeah, if it's on the record. No sidebars.
All right, so
and
Ms.
so on.
Little, if you can get me whatever
Sidebars
you're
are
going to
record.
get me within the next hour, so that would be great. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9
Thank you.
o'clock.
Ah!
Oh. I put a poll up. Easy question. State has rested. At this point, you should be 100% certain of her guilt bye Jamie, if you want to find her guilty at all.
bye, Jamie.
I have, because it's 3 different charges, so I have left one in there as hung. Question is guilty on all, hung, or not guilty on all. Because at this point, you will never be more sure of the state's case, because they have just spent 23 days proving to you that John O'Keefe, on or about January 29th at 12:32, was struck at some speed, at some angle, at some point by a Lexus driven by Karen Reed, because she is a jealous hoebag who just wanted to F off that MFer. If you believe that, you, of course, vote guilty on all counts. If you think no, you vote not guilty. And if you're thinking, hey, I don't think she unalived him, but I do think that she caused an accident because she was recklessly driving while drunk. So I think that then you can say hung vote, just to tell you all about it. Just to see where you are after 23 days, which at this point should be the strongest feeling you have about guilt, because the state has now spent 23 days proving to you that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe in a fit of rage. Yes, they will meet tomorrow at 9, but the jury won't be there till 9:30.
Correct.
Cool.
Which means we'll be here at 9 probably.
Yes.
Right.
I have the
Yes.
stream set up till normal time, and then we'll... the state actually did prove that it wasn't snowing that much at that point, because they had a meteorologist.
You're right.
Can we have the next poll, guilty, not guilty, or John Holmes? Who's John Holmes?
John Holmes.
Isn't he an adult actor with a very large accoutrement?
Well, I don't look at men's accoutrement, Mo, so
Apparently
how would I
so.
know?
Yeah.
I love my pornographic memory. I mean, my photographic memory.
Also known as Johnny Wad.
I did not know that.
I actually think the state did worse this time. They will be relying heavily on the incriminating statements she made in her video clips, because that's all they have. Last time they have experts testifying how and when John got hit. This time they have an expert said, I don't know, but it clearly was the tail light. That's the only expert they have had this time that have changed anything from the last trial. And of course, they have a brain surgeon who said it was a slip and fall like I saw it in Minnesota all the time. I think they have had a worse case. They have, at no point, in my opinion, again, you are allowed to have every opinion you want on my channel. It's not a safe space. Just be nice to each other. Yes. I don't believe they have proven any mens rea in this case. Last time they tried to do it with the Aruba sisters, and I just don't see it done with these stupid video clips. So I can't see her guilt based on... I can't see them getting to second degree in any fashion, but I have been wrong many times.
I mean, unless they take the Bella's mom and the angry text and the angry voicemails and call that mens rea, it's just so hard to predict what a jury's going to kind of zero in on.
I think the fact that they're hiding Proctor is not a good sign for them.
Yeah.
Please let Proctor be the first witness.
We know all of this. The jury doesn't know they're hiding Proctor. They're thinking, why are they asking about this Proctor guy? We had a guy who talked us all the way through. But, Jamie, I'm talking about what the jury is watching. It doesn't matter what we know. This is the big problem. Everyone on Twitter right now is saying, oh, but this and this. Doesn't matter. At this point, this is what they've shown the jury. The jury doesn't know Proctor isn't there. They just know that they were told by that Bukaki guy how they did it.
But they're gonna
what is in the title? It doesn't matter if one is the lead investigator.
They're gonna
what does it prove? What does it prove?
It gives the
defense keeps bringing up Proctor.
I think the jury is keen on the fact that why didn't the lead investigator come in? You guys are talking about this Proctor guy doing all these things, but why haven't we heard from him? That's what I believe. Because
Bukaki was his superior.
Yeah,
the testimony is there. There's no reason. He was just a case officer. Yeah, the defense wants to call him lead investigator, and technically, yes, that's
have called him that.
Yes, but again, we had his superior testifying. Bukaki was.
He made it very clear.
It was made very clear that he was his superior officer.
No,
it was stated by both sides. But again, you had his superior officer, and Proctor isn't working for the Commonwealth anymore. So it's natural you don't want to call him because, hey, it's an old employee. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but there's no reason that the jury sits. Again, they didn't think Arca was good because they thought they were hired by either Aiden or insurance company. So really,
Aiden
if you
hasn't been mentioned.
No, but if you didn't know Proctor's name and all he'd done and he'd been fired, would it have mattered to you if you're 100% honest? No, it wouldn't. It's just another cop. Who's Tully? We have heard more about Tully than we heard about Proctor. Why didn't?
No, we've heard a lot about Proctor. What are you talking about?
We have heard more about Tully because Tully has been mentioned with every single witness that has done anything police-like in this case. Every interview, every report, connections to the experts. We have heard more about Tully. He's not been called either. But no one is saying, why isn't it's going to be a big problem they didn't call Tully. Everyone is saying Proctor because we know how bad Proctor is. I'm just saying we overemphasize the things we know because we have been following for 2 years. No one here on this channel believed that they would think Arca was hired by her car insurance company the first time, but they still did. So I think we also have, because we have confirmation bias as well, we have to step back and say, I don't think Proctor is a big problem for the jury. They don't know him. They don't care about him. But all right, new theory. It was the tail light itself. Did the tail light explode all on its own and attack John? Probably did.
When they get Proctor on the stand, which they're going to do, they're going to have to do, and they make him read all these text messages.
Actually, I've seen a few of the lawyers online saying they wouldn't call him. They would call his friends and get his text messages just in that way. Because if Proctor goes on the stand, you're playing hand grenades.
Why?
You may, but
Do you know
get it out there.
what Proctor is going to say for you when you call him from the defense? If he pleads the fifth, what are you going to do?
He can't plead the fifth.
He can plead the fifth. Why can't he plead the fifth?
Because he was a law enforcement officer at the time.
He broke the law. He's not a law enforcement officer anymore.
There's a difference when you're an agent of the state. You can't plead the fifth.
He's not an agent of the state.
He was at the time, though.
Yeah, but still, does that mean that when he's not an agent of the state, he loses his Fifth Amendment rights?
And he's also already testified. You can't
not in this case. Yes, you can. It's a new case.
So. Where's the
Valhalla? You were an agent of the state. Do you have your Fifth Amendment rights?
Not the same thing. I wasn't involved in a
absolutely the same. You were.
If they were to call me for an incident that happened in Iraq, then I don't think I could plead the fifth, right? Like at the time of my service.
I actually don't think
is different because this is, and
I don't think
true,
the military has. I don't think the military has a Fifth Amendment right.
They don't. The UCMJ can charge you no matter what, and you don't. I don't think have a right to not testify. It's different with UCMJ, but the cops themselves, as part of the investigation, I don't think have the ability to plead the fifth. Well, Furman was on the stand for days. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Mark Furman from the OJ trial, he was on the stand for days.
He was.
I don't watch the OJ trial.
You don't know Mark DeFeelman?
Everyone's talking about the OJ case. I remember there were. I remember the riots. I remember that he got very surprisingly, and I know the glove doesn't fit. I never watched the case. It was shown on Danish television, and it would have been.
They got Furman on the stand and asked him if he'd ever said the N word, and he said no. And then they found somebody else that said yes, he had like a bajillion times. And then they brought him on there and were like, "Hey, what about all this?" He was likely the one that planted the blood evidence in the OJ trial.
First of all, do we have the friends text? The friends text are the leaking balloon knot. It's the a hottie if you likes a flat ass. He's not going to get in trouble. He is a police officer too. Those are the text to his friends. 4 people were put on the witness list yesterday, and the snooping around the ladies did behind the scene indicates that these are the friends of Michael Proctor that he texted. So you can get him in through the back door. Kind of like Farrell next week in Knoxville.
That's true, David. The N-word did originate from the OJ trial. Before that, it was never a thing. The term the N-word because of the OJ trial.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah, before that it wasn't.
But I'm still saying again, if you're going to call him, you're going to play hand grenades. I would call his friends and get the text message in through that. And
what could he say? Like how could he possibly get away from the horrible
I don't know
investigation?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't care.
But he's already
he's just gonna look
testified.
stupid. I mean,
do you think it's gonna matter that he looks stupid on the stand?
Yes.
He's already testified in like 5 different.
He's already testified in like 5 different proceedings.
He's not a police officer.
He led this investigation, and he's
not a police officer. He's
it doesn't matter. He was a police officer at the time.
It's not gonna matter when he sits. Jamie, if you put me on the stand, and I know that if I look stupid on the stand, I might get a cushy security job in a year, because why the fuck hasn't this guy talked? He's not going to go down and say, yeah, we did a shitty look for blood evidence. No.
Well, he's not going to say that. But he's going to
say exactly the same he said the last time. Do you want him
sitting
sitting
he looked retarded.
It didn't matter the first time.
Yes, it did. They did not like Proctor. All of them said that.
But again, it doesn't matter. It didn't sway them to say she was not guilty. This is the big problem. What didn't convince them was the technical stuff. no one who saw Bukkake is going to be changed to say, oh, Bukkake was really, really good. Now I see Proctor, Bukkake wasn't good. They will sit and say exactly the same thing about Bukkake they said about Proctor the last time. You didn't do shit. I would rather try and get another officer, maybe the denim officer, in and say, you saw the taillight. Did you take pictures? No. Wouldn't you normally in an investigation take a picture of the taillight? Yeah, we would normally do that, but this was I was just there to facilitate the tow truck. I would do that to point. Yeah, well, we can disagree all we will, for sure. But I still, without him being declared a hostile witness, you can do that. I would not call him open-ended questions. Not good for Karen. I'm just saying you're seeing.
I was talking to Dave about this the other day, and we were looking at the rules of testimony and evidence and yada yada yada. There's doesn't appear to be any limitations if the defense calls Proctor, because that was a rumor or something that I'd heard tossed around that if the state doesn't call them and the defense does, that they would be limited in somehow in their testimony or their questioning, and apparently that is not the case. They should have wide open, no limitation.
He's just a normal witness. Proctor can invoke the fifth. The only nuance is that in terms of an internal investigation, if he takes the fifth, they can make it a negative inference.
Even if he's already testified in 5 different proceedings.
You can always plead the fifth.
Can they bring in his prior testimony, like the transcripts?
Yes.
You can't ask him questions. This is a new trial. They can't read the grand jury testimony unless they have the person on the stand and say, in a previous investigation or in a previous court proceeding, you testified that you saw a car parked outside at 12:45. Well, they got it wrong. You can do that, but you can't just say, well, he doesn't want to answer, but you did say this, and this. Can't do that.
Isn't that almost better?
They said in opening, we are calling him.
I would. I would, hands down.
I still don't.
Hands down, I would.
Okay, but would you call him first, second, or would you take this time to bring the ARCA people in first to combat Dr. Welcher?
I would go ARCA first.
Yeah, I don't think it serves anything to bring Proctor first. I think fight the technicality, fight the numbers with people who can actually explain it without a chart with a gajillion numbers and spreading his load. I can't believe he said that again today. Like, do you not have the internet, sir?
Isn't the defense doing a Bowden defense strategy? If so, they certainly need Proctor. No, they can call any cop to testify about how you normally do police work, because Bukkake has confirmed that they didn't do normal things and you just need someone to put the light on it. The thing is, I would call ARCA as the first people and totally shred this guy, because no one remembers what Jen McCabe said 5 weeks ago. So it's not important, and you don't have to do linear. And I think it's really important for them to take out him being hit by a car, because if you take that out, you can't find her guilty in manslaughter. No, you can't find her guilty in second degree, and you can't find her guilty in manslaughter under the influence, and you can't find her guilty in leaving the scene. If you can convince the jury there was no accident involving Karen Reed's car, all the charges is bunk. If you go back now and try to debunk what was said in week 1, they will forget how horrible Dr. Welcher was and how horrible Burgess was. And they will just think, oh, they're really fighting this. It must be important. I would go ARCA first and totally take the car, because their testimony won't change. Their testimony will be exactly the same as the first trial. John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. That car didn't hit a person. And if you can have them after, and they won't sit there. That just doesn't make sense when Brennan is standing up and saying, well, trial by ambush. I would go backwards, and I won't call Higgins. There's no reason to call Higgins. The only thing you need to focus on is getting these stupid jurors to understand the car wasn't involved in an accident. It didn't succeed the first time.
I would ask him where his Jeep was parked.
It doesn't matter because they didn't really catch him in it. Well, you're correct. There's no limitations on the questions that can be asked, but if he is declared a hostile witness, a lesson will be allowed to ask cross-examine instead leading on direct. Yeah, that's the only difference there will be.
Yeah.
Well, what is the new stuff they did? We don't know because it hasn't been mentioned. What they did was they were allowed to rebut. They were allowed to rebut in some parts, I believe, Welch's report, but not in all, because that's where they were allowed to testify according to their old testimony, but I don't know if they're allowed. There were some limitations on the new stuff, but I can't remember it. I'll have to figure it out.
They've all said that the new stuff isn't new. It's just focused, right? It's all part of the previous report.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to get anything new from Marco, but they're going to tailor make it to fight Welcher's nonsense.
But he won't go to jail because no one is going to raise perjury charges if he lies about the Jeep. It's not going to be a thing. I still don't think Higgins. I'd rather have Jen McCabe testify there was a Jeep out there.
She never said anything about the Jeep, or in the beginning she did. Like she said that there it was. I don't remember exactly, but she said that
the first time
she never
did.
put the Jeep there. Right? She never put the Jeep there.
Yeah, she said something about the periphery of
First
her
trial,
eyes.
she said the Jeep was there. The second trial, she said, I don't remember. That was
I just realized. Don't think it to bring. Well, they are actually. I think the question is: Don't they plan to bring Wells back on the stand again in the very end? Yes, Wells will be retained to do rebuttal to Arca, which is going to be funny.
That will be interesting.
Next Friday, I know where she's at.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Christina Aguilera. Can Arca be called twice?
I think they can probably come back to rebut the rebuttal, right?
Yeah, they can do a serve rebuttal.
So.
So yeah, that should be. But again, I would. They got half a day extra now. I would be on signal right now with Dr. Wolf and prepping him so hard that tomorrow it's going to take an hour just to ask the questions, and that's all. And it's just going to be, why is it absolutely ridiculous what they did? That's probably going to be 2 hours. And then Brennan is coming up and say, did you ever, in his weasel voice, and he's going to show the same. I don't think he can control himself. I think he's going to Dr. Russell it. The way he treated Dr. Russell is the way he's going to treat every single defense witness, and he's going to lose the jury if he does that.
I hope
that's my prediction.
Especially with Dr. Wolf, who is so, just kind and affable, and even when he was being an absolute dillhole during de voir dire, he was still kind. So when you have a lawyer that looks like a jerk to a nice person, that's not good.
What am I dreaming about? What's that in reference to? I don't even think I've spoken the last 5 minutes. What the hell are you talking about, Liska?
No, they don't have the Jeep there, no, because he didn't say it, but Matt McCabe, Higgins, and Jen McCabe had it in the last trial.
This isn't the same trial, Baker.
No, but I'm just, if you would have let me speak, Val Belcher, I would have said, but is it crucial? Maybe if you have to plant it in the mind, and I don't know if you got it planted in the mind enough that it would have hit that Jeep, because I don't know. Yeah. The state has rested. You vote not guilty on all, 85%, hung 12%, guilty on all 2%. So that's way better than when we started this, because 13% found her guilty the first time around.
How many?
13. When I did my opening right now, 13%, and I think 10% said I want to see more. So that's 12% now who says, well, I might find her guilty in some of it, which I think is reasonable. Well, I have my opinions, but I think that's probably kind of where the jury is sitting.
Yeah,
if you
probably.
extrapolated that data on the spreadsheet, I'm not allowed to see she's hitting the mailbox, the Jeep, or spinning out to avoid. I don't know what spreadsheet you're not allowed to see. He got really angry yesterday because of the chat. But I don't know if Jemima took a screenshot of it. She just sings some things. Sometimes. Well, according to that twisted lady, she says Hank will wipe the floor with Arca. He's ready for them. But the problem is, what was wrong in the first trial? Oh, yeah. They didn't have a guy who could talk to experts. They had this time with Alessi. Hanky Panky can't talk to experts because he has an inferiority complex. He doesn't like people who is better than him. That's why he will misstate everything they say. He will yell at them. He will become obnoxious. And it's going to be objection, 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 objection. And she has sustained a lot more objections in this trial from the defense. We have to be honest about Bev. I don't say she's a good judge, and I don't think she's making fair rulings, but she has made way more objections. She's ruled in favor of the defense on more objections this time than she did in the first trial. I am 100% sure of that.
Since the voir dire of Dr. Wolf, anyway, yeah. When he was like, yeah, the feds are totally not only watching, but keeping me updated on what's happening over here.
So, Brandon, you can go into Discords and see the slides. See, Val, even Brandon doesn't like you.
Brandon,
I think she has sustained more. Don't have a clear idea what the percentages are. No, I'm not. But I'm. The last time I'm gonna allow that. I'll allow it. Mr. Lally, do you want to object? No, because that could be highly prejudicial, and they can ask witnesses. They can't just sit and play clips from the last trial. That would be absolutely prejudicial to both sides, and both sides have a right to a fair trial. Want to come over and look at my slides?
As long as they don't have math.
Yeah.
Puppies, I'll allow.
What is the Discord? If you put in beep, 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 there is actually a link that's going to pop up in the chit chat.
You are awesome.
If you want to join the Discord, you'll be put in a waiting room, and then one of the mods will assign you a role. It's just to make sure not too many of Val's friends from the anti-Karen Reed movement comes over. I didn't say anything. Now let's talk about acquiring a baby pool and a lot of baby oil for your trip. Well, I probably could get some at Walmart or something.
I thought P. Diddy had all of them. They don't make it anymore.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson was sitting there thinking, oh, fuck.
Yeah. We just got people
when he got
thinking,
arrested because that tanked their stocks.
I know. They already had the baby powder issue. Now baby oil is gone too.
Marissa, can you send a link to the Discord place where the spreadsheets are for Brandon, because he can't figure it out? Boomer, boomer. Do you all think that the defense will use some of their time to put the clips into more context? It's hard to do if you don't put her on the stand. Then you'll have to play your own clips. And I just feel, maybe it's me, but I take my earbuds out every time because it's so cringeworthy to me to play them out of. And I think jury will see it for what it is. It's highly clipped out statements that you don't know the context. But you can't rebut them without putting her on the stand. Well, you can call the journalist, but still. And again, you don't put your defendant on the stand. No matter how much you think that they can do a really good job, you can see how bad Dr. Welcher, who's paid $400,000, did when he was cross-examined.
I would just ignore them if I was them. I would just like pretend like they didn't exist.
Yeah, I would say something in closing that we don't have to rely on clips that we try to, because we didn't have the evidence. What we showed you were the facts.
Yeah.
They tried to bamboozle you with clips from that was taken out of context. The defense there's no time limit on the defense. The defense have said their case in chief will last a week and a half to 2 weeks. They can go as long as they want. There's no time limit on the defense. The only reason she says we are ahead of schedule is because the state claimed they would be 6 to 8 weeks, and defense claimed 1.5 to 2 weeks. So that should be a 10-week trial, which would mean that it should end in week 25, I believe it was. So we are actually, if they do a week and a half, then we are a week ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, if we're ahead of schedule, is she going to stop looking at her watch and telling Alessi he only has 10 minutes? Because that would be nice.
No.
Well,
Probably not.
If it's the same question and they are spinning their wheels, we see it in other cases as well that move on. So, but she does it more with the defense. She doesn't do it with the state, and that's why when I like her for being more defense friendly in her objection sustaining, I still dislike her heavily for her rulings because she's so clearly biased and she doesn't listen to one word. Everything is predetermined, and she never tells Hank, "You can't go there," or "Shut up, you've asked this question 45 times." That time when he asked, "Did you know 5 people said I hit him," she should have cut him off. That shouldn't have been allowed in. I don't know how it in any way was allowed in.
There's a lot of stuff in this
The free golfs will continue to moral improves.
Morale improves.
It is extremely prejudicial if Bev starts complaining about how much time the defense is taking. She better make the same comments about being ahead of schedule while the defense is going as well. Well, I don't know.
Somebody
keeps talking about how much we need to respect the lawyers.
I heard somebody else talking about this the other day. I don't remember who it was, but in itself, her comments about how the lawyers are working so hard to streamline this, we're way ahead of schedule, the lawyers are doing a great job. If she doesn't maintain that same outlook for the defense's case in chief, then that could be a real serious prejudice to the jury. I can't remember who was talking about it though.
Yeah. I don't know if it's my internet or it's Valhalla's, but that was a little bit of lag. We're talking about a jury room that will have few entities in there, including the foreperson trying to take over. The clips of her saying she never drives sober and kills John will be discussed. Yes, and I've said it. I can't understand any lawyer would let their clients do these interviews. They must have thought, oh, it's in the bag, and then they did the interviews. There's no reason why and I don't even care if it's a public defender. They should have said, "Are you effing kidding me?" But he was sitting right next to her. And that's a big problem. And it wasn't to pay for the case because she didn't get paid for it as far as I know. So that was very, very, very bad lawyering at their point. It was Andrea Burkhardt, Val, and I was in chat on the same day. Oh, you go all in the fancy places.
Andrea Burkhardt's awesome.
Well, you were over there trying to get a wrench. We know you.
Yeah.
Andrea Burkhardt told me I could have a wrench a while back, and then she never gave it to me. So I'm a little salty about that,
Shame on
Andrea.
her.
We were talking. We were DMing back and forth. Long story short, she was like, yeah, that'd be awesome if you help me out with the modding. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. Never got one. Sad, Andrea. I was sad.
But talk about being sad.
Why am I sad?
Good question. Why are you sad, Jamie? And
You and
go.
out.
We're leaving?
Yeah, we're leaving.
Oh.
It's
Well.
dinner time. I need to go eat some food.
Okay.
I'm trying to end the stream, Jamie.
Well, hi everybody.
The stream is
That's
over.
why
There's
you're
no more
sad.
talk today.
That's why you're sad, because the stream's ending.
Yeah, the stream is ending. I'm very sad. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep now. So join the Discord. We have a lot of fun in there. We do a lot of stuff on the weekends. Yeah. I'm glad to be back, kind of. So yeah, I don't got much else to say. Sorry.
Hey guys, I'm Mo from Mo in the Deep End. I do daily news shows from 8 to about 8:45 to get you into court on time. We do headlines, true crime, and the absurd. If there's a Florida man story, I will find it and share it with you. And hopefully those asteroids don't hit that I reported about this morning before we get to see the defense.
Asteroids? Anyway, y'all, I'm Valhalla. Come check me out. I've got Nubian goats. We've got a nursery cam set up, and it's live right now. In fact, I'm going to send my chat over to Bookkeep after this. So, check this out, y'all. Good things happening over here.
Is Valhalla's internet totally fucked up, or is it my internet?
No, it's the mic. Yeah, I can't hear him very well.
Oh. We just put him on screen and everyone talk behind his back. I can mute him. So
I thought it
even
was
if he comes
Baker's.
back.
If it counts or matters, I thought it was Baker's earlier because there was a couple things in the trial that were like sketchy, but it might be mine. That could be the problem. Could be. Either way, come watch my goats.
That's what you get from a mod of the year. You can't even get an internet connection.
Yes, I did examine his lower extremities. That is protocol in any case of suspected impact with a motor vehicle. So I did examine his legs and I did not see any evidence of an impact site.
Just pin it on the